marked by the Moonless Alpha. The chandeliers pour moonlight across the hall, and the moment I see him, everything inside me tilts. Music swells. Silk whispers over polished stone. Laughter flutters like bright birds, yet the world narrows to a single figure set against a black marble pillar. Aldrich Vaynor, the Moonless Alpha. He stands without crest or boasting medal. Dark leathers banded over a body cut by war, not by tailors. His hair is tied back, midnight drawn firm from a face that looks carved into calm. A pale scar drags across his jaw, the only untidy line on a man who wears stillness like armor. He should look incomplete to me. He should be a whisper of pity. Instead, he feels like the answer to a question I never dared shape. My wolf rises so fast my breath snags. Mate. Not a sound. A force. A tide pulling through bone as if the moon lives behind my ribs. I grip my glass harder. The stem complains in my fingers, and I ease before it breaks and makes a scene my father would turn into a lecture about control. Mate. No. I am Aryana Draven. I am the daughter of the Alpha King. I am not a girl who crumbles in a ballroom because a man looks at her. But my body does not care about policy or alliances. The space between us tenses until it feels like a thread drawn to the limit. His eyes, steel gray and unblinking, lift to mine. The noise of the hall slides under a door. The scent of wax and winter roses fades until the only thing that smells real is the cold air moving around him. A hand touches my elbow. My father stands there glittering in crimson and black, gold pressing the cuffs at his wrists. He has a way of looking at people, as if he is measuring the distance to their throats. His gaze follows mine to the pillar, lands on Aldrich, returns to my face. A line appears at the corner of his mouth, gone so quickly a stranger would miss it. I do not. Ronan Cale steps into view with a smile tuned to the exact pitch of the room. The cut of his red coat catches candlelight like spilled wine. He bows the amount expected and no more before offering his hand, palm smooth as polished stone. He is always polished. Even after hunts he came away with unmarked boots, untouched by mud or blood in ways that made me uneasy, long before I could say why. He speaks softly enough that only my father and I can hear. The sweetness of pear wine follows the words. You drift when the music starts. Should I worry I am a dull partner? The smile I offer him belongs to the role, not to me. The musicians draw up a waltz and the crowd turns like a tide into ordered patterns. I place my hand in Ronan's and step into the form pressed into me by years of tutors in rooms that smelled like ink and iron. We move. His palm settles at my back with the proper pressure. It is the right shape and the wrong feeling. My wolf does not purr. She focuses past Ronan's shoulder toward the pillar until I can feel her stare under my skin. Aldrich is closer now, not in the center, not in the shadow. A man who can be both, and neither. The metal pins at his shoulders take light and refuse to sparkle. People look, pretend not to. Look again. Rumor has the easier work tonight. The man refuses to perform for them. Ronan follows my glance. The pleasant curve of his mouth flattens. So the novelty attends? Heat crawls slow and low through me. The mate bond pulls tighter with every bar. When Ronan turns me, the world drops away until there is only a breath of space and Aldrich's gaze holding mine. For a heartbeat, I forget the steps and falter. Ronan's fingers press, so I remember. My father shifts on the dais and the guards adjust, a silent correction that ripples through the edges of the room. Aldrich does not move. It is a strange challenge, the refusal to hide, and the refusal to preen. It hangs between us like unsheathed steel that no one can pretend not to see. Ronan spins me, bringing us within a breath of Aldrich's boots. He does not look at Aldrich when he speaks. He angles his voice at my ear as if he can trap me in a pocket of sound. You will find it tedious to dance with someone who cannot shift when the music ends. Something tightens along Aldrich's jaw. Not anger set on display, not a flare. the quiet adjustment of a man who has stood on too many edges to waste motion. My wolf crouches, not to pounce, but to focus. She puts one word against the inside of my mind until it ache glows. Mate. The musicians crest and break into a softer turn. Ronan guides us cleanly, and would have dragged us farther away if I had not glanced up and met the gray head-on. The hall fades again. The chandeliers burn too bright. I can hear my heart in my throat, fast and foolish. The waltz ends. Polite clapping spills up like mist. I do not bow. I look across a ring of people at the man who did not take a single step toward me and already feels close enough to be a threat to every decision made about my life. Ronan leans in with a smile that asks me to do as he expects. Another. My wolf pushes hard against my skin. She wants him. The one by the pillar. The one who feels like winter and iron and the beginning of a different world. I lower my hands to release myself from the pose and answer without looking at Ronan. I need air. Ronan's eyes flick to my father. I can feel the thrum of power between them. My father does not speak. He does not need to. He lifts his chin by the width of a breath, and whole corners of the hall reset their stance. Aldrich shifts the smallest amount as if acknowledging the decision before I make it. He brings his body out of the last clutch of shadow, and the light finds the plane of his cheekbone, the line of the scar, the steadiness in his eyes that feels like a hand on a door. He extends his hand. He does not turn it into a performance. He offers. It is a request, a claim, a question. Dance with me. No one hears the words, yet I hear them. My father speaks my name with weight. Aryana. The sound could be gentle to someone who does not know him. To me it is an order, cloaked in worry. It is a lifetime of expectations, braided into 3 syllables. I nod toward him just enough to keep the crown's dignity intact, then step away before dignity grinds me to powder. I cross to Aldrich. The last few feet feel like walking toward the sea when you know the undertow has your name. Up close, the space around him is different. Air moves cooler, cleaner. He smells like frost and steel, and a kind of quiet that asks hard questions. My wolf lowers herself inside me, not in surrender, in recognition of weight. He studies my face as if he is learning it the way warriors learn maps. He offers his hand. I lay mine in his. Heat runs up my arm in a line. The musicians hesitate, glancing toward the dais. My father's voice drops, a flat instruction that sounds like a hinge closing. Play. The waltz blooms again. Aldrich draws me into motion with no excess. He is a blunt, perfect balance. All control without show. Every turn smooth and exact. The distance between our bodies is correct by the book. My nerves lie about it. Cloth brushes cloth and my breath stumbles. The scent of him hooks under my skin and circles there like a thought I cannot unthink. He keeps his gaze on mine, not possessive, not pleading. A certainty that says he will meet whatever I bring. A loose lock of hair slips against his cheek as we turn, asking for my hand to fix it. I do not move. I do not know him. I cannot remember a time when I did not. You know him, my wolf insists. She presses her head against the inside of my ribs, slow and sure. You always knew. I am half angry that he does not have a wolf and my body answers him like an oath. It feels unfair. It feels like a challenge set by gods who like their games sharp. It also feels like tenderness I have not allowed myself to imagine. I keep my voice under the music and you shouldn't be here. His thumb shifts at my hand with the smallest pressure, and yet we turn. Ronan has not moved far. He watches with a look that glints like a blade held against light. He taps a finger against his cuff, a habit that means he is planning to make someone pay when no one is looking. What do you want? A quiet beat winter water still? Truth. The word fits his mouth and his posture. It hits a place inside me I did not know was waiting. Truth is dangerous at court. It is also the only thing that has ever felt like air to me. Do you feel it? If he had claimed me like property, my spine would have gone stiff and my temper would have saved me. He asks, like my answer, is the axis. My wolf presses a yes into my bones so hard my knees might give if I let them. I feel something. He hears the honesty and the fear in it. The corner of his mouth lifts a fraction, not a smile, an acknowledgement. He looks down at our hands, up again. I do not have a wolf. He offers it like a fact and not a flaw, quiet enough for only me. I glide with him through a turn and hold his eyes. I know. He nods once. It steadies me more than any apology would have. The crowd's murmur tightens. The court measures us like they measure threats, fast and wrong. Two old nobles whisper behind fans about scandal. A young warrior in my father's colors watches with awe he does not manage to hide. The sea of faces swells and pulls, pretending to admire the chandelier while trying to consume us with their eyes. Ronan steps into our path on the next pass. He forces a half-halt that clips the dance, his smile sours. An interesting choice for the king's daughter. Aldrich does not grace him with his full attention. He keeps his gaze on me, and the relief that slides through my chest is so sudden I nearly sway. I have spent years surrounded by men who turn me into a prize they talk over. This feels like the opposite. It is a trap of its own kind. It is also a kindness. Ronan's voice drops to cool. Witness a real alpha, then. Aldrich glances over, light and flat, as if noting a stone on a road he will cross anyway. I know what I am here to witness. The pulse at Ronan's temple beats faster. He steps fractionally closer. The king's daughter does not dance with men who cannot stand on four legs. Heat flares through me like someone set a match to oil. My wolf surges against my ribs, silent and ready. Aldrich's hand tightens enough to remind me where the ground is. He does not fight with words. He turns his head a fraction toward me. Do you wish to stop? The question lands on the sore place where duty has rubbed me raw. I look at Ronan. I look at my father, a statue of iron watching the shape of my choice. I look at the banners drenched in light, the polite smiles of people who will make a meal of me as soon as they can lower their voices. I look at Aldrich. No. The word is small, clean, and it rearranges everything in reach. We move and leave Ronan rooted where he chose to plant himself. I hear his inhale rip the smooth edge of his self-control. My father does not lift a finger. If he wanted this stopped, it would stop. He is waiting to decide what shape to force the ruin into if ruin comes. You do not frighten easily. I frighten constantly. I refuse to break. His mouth almost turns. The scar makes the almost look fierce. We finish the turn as the music folds itself to an end. Applause echoes, smoother now, as if people have agreed to pretend this was ordinary. It was not. It felt like stepping onto a bridge where no one checked if the ropes were sound. Aldrich releases my hand. The absence feels like cold after a hearth. He tilts his head toward the archway that leads into the gardens. He does not push. He offers air. Ronan moves fast, voice quiet and sharp. Enough. You are reckless. He speaks to me and looks at Aldrich. It is meant to make me small. I let the intention slide off. I lift my eyes to my father. His face does not tighten. Only his gaze weights my skin. It is not a father's gaze in this instant. It is a ruler measuring the cost of a line. I take a step toward the arch. The cool night lifts its breath to meet me. The last thing I hear behind me is Ronan's voice, engineered to sound casual. If you walk out there with him, do not expect the palace to open for you again. I do not answer. Answers are coins people make you spend to prove you belong. I pass under stone, and the scent of winter roses and wet stone pushes the smell of perfume and wax from my lungs. The fountain sings a clean line near the center of the garden, and beyond the hedges and trimmed paths the forest lifts its black spine to the stars. He follows after a few heartbeats, not crowding me, stopping an arm's length away. The night takes the crowd noise and crushes it to a hum. My wolf lifts her head and breathes like she has been underwater for too long. You should not have danced with me. He looks at the statue at the fountain, then at me, moonlight laying a thin silver on the scar. Perhaps not. I am done letting other men name my limits. It hits me low, a weight and a relief at once. I think of mornings scheduled to the minute, of rituals of grace arranged around a throne, of Ronan's smile that never bends in the right places. I think of the way my wolf has paced inside me for years, wanting out of corridors I never built but still walked. What are you? He does not reach for pride or apology in a man without a wolf, and a man who feels something when you look at him. Honesty feels like a blade that can be used to carve doorways. My throat tightens. You risk your life to stand here, not my life, my patience. A laugh almost rises. Almost is a luxury in a place where guards can appear from hedges like thorns growing legs. The archmouth darkens. 2 guards step through, then 2 more. Hands light on their weapons so they can pretend this is routine. My father's voice carries clean through stone and rose scent. Aryana. His tone wraps command and concern and expects me to thank him for the ribbon. Aldrich does not tense. He does not reach for me or step back. He exists with a steadiness that makes me think of winter rivers refusing to rush just because the land demands it. This is a bad place for a war. He is right, it is also exactly the kind of place men choose because it looks soft. I look at the guards and the arch and the man who already feels like a decision more than a person. You should go. It tears to say it, it still comes out even. He holds my eyes one more breath. A quiet full of choices we have not made. He turns toward the deeper shadow, his voice slides over the fountain song. You are mine, Aryana. Wolf or not, nothing will change that. My heart catches hard enough to hurt. My wolf does not use words. She throws back her head inside me, and the silent howl feels like a promise clawing a mark into the underside of my ribs. The guards close the last steps. The garden keeps breathing as if nothing just shifted under the world. I stand there with the night against my face and try to pretend the future did not just tilt toward a man the court calls incomplete, even as every part of me knows he is the only thing that has felt whole in years. The guards reach me at the fountain before the water finishes another loop. Their armor barely whispers. Palace training turns men into quiet machines. The nearest dips his head, eyes fixed just below mine. Behind them the arch glows with ballroom light. A different country with softer weather and harder rules. I pull the garden's cold into my lungs and let it still my face. My father's voice carries again, thinner at this distance, and no less binding. The guards wait for my first step, so a story told later can say the king's daughter chose to return. I walk, heat and perfume fold over me as I pass under the arch. Silk breathes against stone. Laughter places its mask back on. You can learn everything you need by how people look at a woman who just snapped a pattern. Some stare as if I dropped a torch into dry straw. Some avoid my eyes because they are busy collecting a safe opinion to repeat. My father stands at the top of the shallow steps, an iron line cast in human shape. He does not come to me. I go to him. That is our oldest lesson. If I want control, step into the space where commands are made. Up close, the faint line at the corner of his mouth cuts a shade deeper. His voice stays level, a river that decides when to flood. What happened in the garden? It isn't a question. It is a ledger asking me to point at the entry that will not balance. I look past his shoulder long enough to taste air instead of Ronan's cologne. I needed air. He lets the beat stretch to make clear the words do not satisfy him. A tilt of his head, and the nearest guards adjust again, obedience moving through them like current through iron. With whom? He knows. He wants me to say the name so he can set his boot on it. Aldrich Vaynor found the gardens interesting. The iron warms by a degree. He reads my face the way he reads a battlefield. Hunting the glow-old wolves swear shows when a bond sparks. I hold my breath steady so my body does not betray the quiet fire under my skin. My wolf lifts her head, not to present her throat, to show teeth. She does not like being measured for the block. His gaze cuts to the arch, back to me. You will return to the floor, dance with allies, do not give Vaynor another inch of my hall. He turns before agreement exists. Red and black carry him down among the watching faces and people part. They always do. I follow, because standing still here is worse than anything else. The court smells uncertainty and bites do not always show until morning. Ronan appears like a plan, hand extended, smile repaired to its exact curve. He flicks a glance at my father first, testing the wind, then faces me and lays the charm back on like a coat. Walk with me. The words slide past under my ribs. The promise from the garden sits like a hook. I give Ronan my hand because refusing him in the center would start a war I cannot win tonight. We take a slow circuit along the dance floor. The musicians lean into a gentler set, pretty notes meant to smooth arguments. Nobles dip and turn under chandeliers that cast light in shards. From here the crowd looks like a living thing with more mouths than eyes. Ronan's thumb touches the inside of my wrist where my pulse misbehaves. His tone is crafted for concern. People are watching you the way they watch a fire climbing a tapestry. I am aware. He lets a breath hitch for drama, not mess. You do not need to test me. I've been patient. I can forgive an impulsive moment. Heat rises, not shame. It is the burn of a rope soft enough to pretend it is not a rope. I withdraw my hand and let it rest at my side. Forgive what? A minor lord within range becomes fascinated by his wine. Ronan angles him a glance that sends the man's face back to his cup. You will not use me to unsettle the king. I am your ally, not your theater. That is not what happened. He smooths into reason. Then be reasonable. Vaynor is not for you. A man without a wolf cannot be king's blood. My wolf drags her claws under my ribs, slow and deliberate. She presses the word that changed the color of the night into me again. Mate, I keep it under my tongue. If I let it up, it will flare and I will not be able to put it away. Ronan steers us into the flow of couples using the steps for cover. The pattern turns us toward the dais, away, into pockets of shadow, under crystal. Across a pass, I catch the garden arch again. The darkness beyond looks deeper than it should, as if the night leaned closer to listen. I call it imagination because reality has sharper teeth. He dips his mouth closer when the room spins us past the dais. You will dance with me again where every eye can see, then we will make our bows together. The court will sleep when they know where you stand. Managed, smoothed, aligned, neat words that mean cage. I do not answer. Answers are expensive and the room is full of thieves. We turn again. Warriors from a mountain pack watch with blunt interest, honest faces in a place that prefers masks. One gives me the smallest nod, no claim, only recognition. Wolf to wolf. The way the old stories say we greeted each other before thrones taught us other tricks. My father lifts a hand and a steward arrives like gravity. Music drops in a ripple. Conversation thins to breath. Friends of the crown. He does not raise his voice, the room comes to it. You honor this night by standing with order under the moon, I am pleased. Polite applause, some genuine, some survival. He lets it fade, then moves his tone onto ice. There are rumors at the North Line. Restless wolves, men who forget their oath by nightfall. I will put such forgetfulness to rest before it grows teeth. Silence tightens. People like trouble already handled, preferably by someone else's hands. He feeds them comfort. At the next moonrise we hunt. Those who count themselves my allies will run with my banner. We will clear the dark without mercy, so the youngest among us remember the old laws still draw blood. The mountain warriors nod to each other. Even the softest nobles lean forward. A hunt with the king is glory and risk. The ones who keep their feet come away with stories. Others sometimes do not come away at all. Ronan's hand firms at my back with a pressure that reads like pride in public, possession in private. My wolf goes very still and watches the exits. She is not afraid of a hunt. She is tired of running spirals that end on the same dais. My father gives the room one breath and drops a pebble that sinks hard. Before the season ends, you will hear an announcement about the future of this house. The quiet carries an inner scrape like wet flint struck. Heads turn toward me and begin their math. Ronan's thumb draws one calm line at my side. My father does not look my way. He does not have to. The room looks for him. He is free to look only where strategy lives. Music returns, brighter, the kind used to drape cold water with light. Ronan guides me into a turn. It will go well if we let it. I prefer smooth. If I close my eyes, I still feel the garden's cold and hear the soft weight of a promise that didn't need volume to brand itself into me. The hall tightens around that memory. I step out of the center. Enough. Ronan adjusts without a stutter, pulling a new smile over bone. Then the gallery. He means the eastern run of portraits and windows, a corridor built to look at and be looked at. I weigh traps. I pick the one in my father's sight. We walk the gallery. Old eyes watch from canvas, patient with the decisions of other storms. A slip of air finds a seam where stone meets glass. It carries the forest's cold like a hint. My wolf lifts her head and drinks it. Ronan stops beneath a queen crowned in paint so careful the jewels look like dew. You rattled them. You are enjoying it. A corner of his mouth shifts, the closest he comes to honesty that might cost. Cracks are useful in men, but I like my future steady. There it is again, future like a chair already bought and waiting to be set. He reaches for my wrist, gentle first, then firmer when I resist. His thumb presses bone to bone until the ache reads as warning. You will not let him use you to strike at the king. He is not using me. You think Vayner came to admire tapestries. I was in the garden, he did not talk about tapestries. He goes very still, stillness is his threat. He followed you out there? He did. His jaw works once, he rebuilds reason. Be clear. If you humiliate me before a realm I intend to help rule, I will not be kind in the way I restore what is owed. I pull free. The portraits keep their dust and judgments, I give him nothing to pull by. A low sound threads the night outside. Not a horn. A wolf lifting a note to the moon. Instinct moves through the hall before understanding. Heads turn toward windows. Two old wolves answer low in their chests without meaning to. Reflex older than thrones. My wolf surges so fast I forget decorum. Heat rises. Not the pretty kind. Breath shortens. At the same time, a pressure blooms behind my sternum as if from far away, a hand pressed once, gentle, to remind me I'm not alone. Ronan watches the flush with a small flare as if proof finally arrived. Do you feel foolish now? He wants me to call myself a child. I lay my palm on the cold glass. I feel tired. The howl fades. The hall swallows it like it swallows everything. Music brightens, instructed to drown instinct. Laughter spikes thin. I look to the dais. My father's head tips toward a general in midnight colors. His expression the polite interest he wears for war. A guard approaches the steps and bows. Words move. Eyes cut to the windows, then to the north corridor doors. My father makes one small sign with his hand. Two squads shift before the room notices anything at all. Ronan lowers his voice. He cannot protect you. Who says I need protecting? Honest surprise touches his face and is gone. He recovers. Walk with me to your father. Let us end the guessing. The court will rest when they see us aligned. Not turning would start a different battle, and I am low on ammunition. We move from the gallery toward the steps. Men who serve without title stand along the wall like obedient shadow. I know several by name. I nod. They give back the smallest acknowledgments that vanish if a superior asks. At the base of the steps, my father accepts a paper from a bowed guard. The seal is broken. Wax clings in a torn crescent. He scans, then lifts his eyes to the room in a way that tightens the skin between my shoulders. You can live with a king for a lifetime and still fail to predict when he will choose father instead. He lays the page on the rail. For a heartbeat, the quiet between us almost feels private. Then the court remembers itself and pushes forward. Ronan's palm meets the small of my back to guide me one pace. To the crowd, it reads like pride. To my skin, it reads like pressure. My wolf grinds her teeth. My father measures me head to heel as if for a garment I would not choose to wear. He uses the sharper version of my name, Aryana. I hold his eyes because it is the only way to keep my spine long. You will retire after one more dance. He does not glance at Ronan, he does not need to. Expectation lives in the space between words and rail. He gestures. A waltz rises, clean and bright. A lie about softness. My blood thumps out of time. I step toward the floor because I do not have a way to defy him that will not end in wounds I cannot hide. Ronan meets me at the center, smile upright. The ring of curiosity opens. We move. The form steadies my breathing. Then a wrong shadow slides near the west windows high above. Not a figure. An absence deeper than the rest. For a beat I taste iron and winter. My wolf lunges as if someone took her by a rope. Pressure touches my sternum again, that distant hand, and the world snaps into sharper lines. I keep moving. If I look up, I will break the dance. If I break the dance, my father breaks something else. Ronan leans in. What now? Nothing. He searches and fails to read me. The failure sharpens his steps. The waltz coils to its end and asks for a bow. I do not bow. I let the breath after the last note fill with a refusal no one can name. Applause lifts, falls. The ring loosens. My father's hand stays on the rail like a leash. I look at him, at the window where the dark leaned in, at the doors where the night waits with patience, and the line from the garden finds me again. You are mine, Aryana. Wolf or not, nothing will change that. Minutes, and it still runs through me like current. It frightens me exactly enough. Ronan offers his arm. I let cloth brush my fingers without taking it. He turns the near miss into a greeting for a noble who wants his attention, speaks empties, then guides me toward the eastern corridor that leads to my rooms. The palace knows how to fold sound away. The edges lean inward until footsteps sound like thoughts. Halfway down, a figure fills a side passage. Not a noble. One of my father's older captains. Scar across his brow like a map line, hands behind his back to show peace. Your Highness. He is one of the few who uses the title without making it sound like his own name. The king asks that you rest. Dawn will be early. Ronan answers quickly. We were on our way. The captain's eyes flick to where our palms do not touch and back. He steps aside. As we pass, he lowers his voice so it will not carry. North Wall Patrol saw movement at the tree line. The king has concerns about the forest. The words slide into my spine and settle there. The air tastes colder. My wolf pushes once against bone and goes quiet. Not with fear, with attention. In my room, the lamps burn with neat economy, the kind of order that tries to convince your mind to match it. Ronan stops just inside the threshold like courtesy was built for corridors. Sleep, I will speak with your father at breakfast. I do not want him in my night or my morning. I lay my palm on the door and feel the grain, the honest weight of wood that always carries a knock the same way. Good night, Ronan. He searches my face for softness and finds none to use. He inclines his head and steps back. The door is heavy. The latch clicks with the sound of 100 other nights when duty sat on my chest like a stone. When the room is quiet, I stand at the window and look over the gardens. The fountain glints. The roses hold their cold like a secret. Beyond the hedge, the forest lifts its black spine. Somewhere inside that spine, a man without a wolf stood and told me a truth that rearranged the bones of my night. I press my palm to the glass and let the chill climb into my skin. Under the polite layers, the pull tightens. It should feel wrong to the part of me raised on rules. Everywhere else it feels like a door opening. My wolf breathes one word in the quiet where no one can twist it. Mine. I do not argue with her, not tonight. A breath later, something brushes the edge of my senses. Not sound, not sight. A pressure like a presence just outside the wall. I do not move. I do not open the balcony. I let the night hold its shape and wait. Far below, a guard's torch passes along the path and throws wavering light across the fountain. Flame washes over stone and hedge, and an empty patch of dark that stays dark. The pressure at my sternum eases the smallest amount, like A hand lifting, like a promise set back down. The moon tips west. The lamps make a soft, tireless light. Beyond the glass, the forest listens with its teeth hidden. I stand until my legs ache, until the pull becomes something I can carry to the bed without dropping anything. When I finally let the curtains fall, the garden's faint music follows me across the floor. My wolf curls under my ribs and does not sleep. Sleep dodges me. The lamps are low. The curtains stir like the night is breathing, and the pull under my ribs refuses to ease. Stone keeps sound like a miser. A guard's step scrapes gravel below and carries farther than it should. The fountain keeps its small song as if nothing changed. My wolf is awake with me, stretched under my skin, quiet and watchful. He is near. I don't ask how she knows. The truth has lived in my bones since the chandeliers threw broken light, and I saw him against the pillar like a storm shaped to fit a man. My father would call it impractical. I'm practical enough to put my palm to the window and let the glass take my heat. Night sits on the gardens like a cat that decided the house belongs to it. Torches lean in a faint wind. Frost makes the roses swallow light. Beyond the hedges, the forest lifts its long black spine, patient, unmoved by speeches. Pressure brushes my sternum, the memory of that gentle push I felt in the gallery, and my breath misses a step. I unlatch the balcony door. Cold folds around me. Stone under my bare feet is a plain truth. I step out and let the night strip away whatever the ballroom painted over me. The pull tightens by an inch. Iron and winter touch my tongue. A buttress throws a dark angle along the wall to my left. For a heartbeat, the shadow there is not only shadow. The line of it changes in a way that has nothing to do with wind. I hold still. Stillness draws a world forward. Movement startles it away. A man separates from the dark as if the wall decided to breathe. Leather whispers. Fingers find the outer edge. A body flows over stone with the economy of someone who learned to carry weight where it won't betray him. He stands, unhurried. Every new inch of him another piece of a promise I didn't ask for and can't ignore. Aldrich's eyes find mine. They do not glow. Steel can be seen without light. He steps close enough that the air shifts, then stops at a distance that reads as respect if someone is watching, and restraint if no one is. He does not touch me. Restraint pulls at me as much as a hand would. You should sleep. I tried. You are thinking about cages. I am thinking about doors. He looks past me into the room, then over the gardens, measuring angles. He carries a map in his body the way some men carry prayers. He returns to my face. Your father announced a hunt. You heard from a wall. I hear what I must. The forest heard too. The scar along his jaw catches the smallest almost movement, turning it into threat and half smile at once. You are not safe here. I am in my father's palace behind stone with guards at every turn. You are not safe here. It lands different the second time, not fear used to freeze me. A truth set down so I can choose what to do with it. My father wants a smooth future, I say. Ronan wants the same with his hand on the door. What do you want? My wolf pushes the answer she respects against my tongue. I swallow it because once spoken it will not be put back, and the palace is made of mouths. I want air. Then stop asking men who love rooms to build your horizon. You are a man. I did not say I loved rooms. Quiet is not empty. It is full of breath I've been holding for years. A guard's torch scrapes light along the hedge and slides on. The fountain keeps its patient voice. Palaces chew moments like this into rumor and feed them to the hungry. I know this cannot last. You promised me something in the garden. I promised myself something too. What? That I would not make a cage out of patience again. The line of that vow feels like a spar braced against my ribs. My wolf presses into it with a low sound that is not a growl and not a purr. You came back. I never left. A knock bites the door from inside. Not soft, not yet a threat. My name follows, shaped into a question by someone who does not question. Aryana. My father's voice is calm. Calm is always the warning. Aldrich moves in one clean step to the darkest angle of the balcony and becomes a line, and then a shadow, and then a deeper fold in the night. If I did not know, I would not know. I open the door enough to stand in the gap. A lamp behind my father cuts his profile into hard lines. A captain waits 2 paces back, eyes down. Farther along the corridor, a figure leans with polished ease. Ronan. My father looks past my shoulder. Bed, lamps, breathing curtains. His eyes return to me. You are awake. Yes. There is movement at the tree line. Patrols report forms following the wall. The forest is checking if we are still paying attention. Are we? We are. His attention drops a layer the way a hunter's does when prey is close. He reads my face and does not like the page. He shifts his weight so little it could be light. The captain's hands settle more firmly behind his back. You will remain in your rooms. You will not entertain visitors. You will sleep. I hear the forest. You hear what I allow. He can make that true for almost everyone. Defiance sparks clean. I keep my voice even. I will sleep. Ronan comes off the wall with a supportive smile and lands close enough for the lamplight to gloss his hair. If she is anxious, I will sit with her until she rests. My father does not look at him. He looks at me. He prefers to make me draw lines so he can blame me for their shape. No. Ronan's expression learns how to be kind with less surface to break. As you wish. Breakfast, then. He makes morning sound like a verdict. My father gives a short nod and turns, confident the palace will keep me where he wants me and the night will obey because he told it to. The captain paces with him, boots doing soft math on stone. Ronan follows and looks back with a smile that promises to save us both from ourselves if I let him handle the details. I close the door. The latch clicks, a small mercy in a world that refuses small mercies. I stand with my back against wood until my heart remembers it does not need to run. Aldrich is still on the balcony. I feel him the way people feel weather in their bones. I draw the curtains and step outside again. He will push at dawn. He will try to turn you into a sentence that fits his speech. He is my father. I am not asking you to stop loving him. I am asking you to stop letting his shadow wear your name. Cold finds my ankles. The night smells like iron and wet leaves. I am aware of him with that impossible clarity again, the kind that bends the air until even silence feels like conversation. You stood in a room full of wolves and did not lower your eyes, I say. Ronan tried to make you smaller, and you looked through him. Why my balcony when the court already calls it overstepping? Because certainty is a blunt instrument. And because you stood in a room full of men and offered me your hand when every rule taught you not to. That was a leash. Then let it burn. He steps closer half a pace, enough to close the formal distance without breaking it. Warmth meets cold, and the air learns a new thing about itself. I do not back up. If I start, I may never stop. His fingers lift slow enough that every nerve gets to choose. He does not touch my face. He sets the backs of his knuckles against a lock of my hair where it rests on my shoulder. The contact is barely there. My body answers as if he closed a hand around my throat. Heat runs in a measured line that leaves my knees uncertain. My wolf presses close enough to share breath. Careful. I am tired of careful. Moonlight pulls over us like a secret. He lowers his hand, and I wonder which of us almost did something dangerous, and whether it would have saved or ruined me. You cannot mind-link me, I say. You do not have a wolf. I can still keep a promise. What promise? That I will not let them name you before you name yourself. Another knock touches wood, lighter, the kind that assumes politeness is protection. Your Highness, do you require tea? No. Thank you. Footsteps retreat. The palace exhales. Tomorrow will not be smooth. Tomorrow is built to be a wall. Walls are meant to be climbed. You scaled one tonight. I have been climbing them my whole life. From the north wall, a bell ticks once, not a full alarm. A note two men might agree on when they want the right ears open. He turns toward the sound. The line of his jaw hardens in a way that tells me he is making 3 choices at once. He comes back to me. They will bring you a dress at dawn, he says, white or something that means pure intention to your father. They will ask for your smile and then your throat. You are not wrong. You will show them neither. That will cost. Everything costs. Buy what you want. A quiet laugh escapes. I haven't had many of those. He watches the sound like it might be sacred to a man short on reasons to laugh. You will be there. I am not leaving. You cannot stay on my balcony. I will not always choose the balcony. What will you choose? You. The word steadies me and sets me on fire in the same breath. My wolf answers with a pulse that presses against my bones as if marking them from the inside. I do not move. If I move, I might move too far. Below, a guard shifts and light slides along a spear point. A second bell tick follows the first. Someone clears a throat along the wall in a way meant to be heard by the right ears only. He steps back, not retreating, simply making space because the palace is mixing its poisons, and he knows better than to drink them slow. Be ready. They will try to bind you when the room is bright so the story goes down smooth. Do not let them start their version of your life. And if I cannot stop them, you can. And if I refuse to do it alone, you will not. He moves into the buttress shadow, then turns back as if one more truth costs, and he can afford it. Your wolf is right. She is loud. She is right. What does she say? Mine. Something in me stands taller. I don't answer. I don't need to. He takes the outer edge and is gone, writing himself back into stone and night. I listen for the scrape of leather and hear nothing. I rebuild the room. Curtains, lamp. The door's latch settled into its cradle. The bed turned down like a suggestion. I sit on the edge and lay my hands open on my knees so they cannot clench out of habit. The silence is not truly silence. The palace is alive the way old animals are, knowing how to be quiet and how to let others make noise for it. Footsteps return in the corridor, measured, certain. The door opens without a knock. My father enters with the confidence of a man who owns thresholds. The captain at his shoulder. Ronan a step back, smile built and ready. I rise. Refusing only makes the next minutes worse. My father studies my face long enough to find what he came for. Whatever he finds does not please him. You will rest. At dawn you will receive the High Council and the Northern Lords. You will greet them. After, Ronan will present himself. For what purpose? So the court remembers what future we are building. Ronan stands a fraction straighter as if the future just lifted into reach. It will be brief. Unity is simple if we show it. My wolf lowers her head and watches him with patient disgust. I will be there. Ice rims my father's eyes with a far flame behind it. He nods once. He turns. The captain steps aside. Ronan lingers one breath, then leaves. The door closes on a stone-cold click that used to end a night and now is only the middle. I listen until the corridor empties. When the echo thins, I press my hand to the balcony curtains without parting them. Cold through cloth. On the other side, the night will not sit because it is told to. He will come, I know. We lie down because morning will not be gentle and the body needs a ritual even when the mind refuses. Sleep comes in slices. Each time I drift, the pull tugs me back up, gentle and insistent, like a tide counting rocks. Chandeliers. The fountain. A shadow moving along a wall the way a wall should not move. Near dawn, when the lamps burn to their smallest hearts and the east window leaks a line of gray, weight touches the balcony rail with the certainty of a decision. Not dream, not fear, fact. The curtains barely lift and a voice finds the space between my ribs without raising itself. Be ready. The pull becomes a clean line. For the first time since the music began, I feel not only heat or ache or fear, but direction. The hall outside wakes by degrees. Boots take stations. Water meets basins. Somewhere, armor buckles. A steward rehearses a list under breath. Daylight puts on its face and none of it matters to the thing that changed under my skin. I cross to the window and put my palm to the glass. The world beyond is iron and pearl, the hour when choices are clear and no one has agreed yet to lie. Frost turns stone to ground silver. At the wall, men who do not sing hum. Anyway, old lines wolves use to keep a run steady. Another presence rises inside me, not outside, not in the corridor. My wolf steps to the very front of my mind and sets her weight there like a bearer taking the lead. I am with you. The reply isn't words, it is heat and a resolve I didn't know I owned. I'm with me. The small chapel bell taps once. That's the household's fire bell. A maid will come with water and a dress. My father expects a daughter cut to fit a throne. Ronan will bring a smooth smile and ask me to stand inside it. The knock comes on time. 3 even taps, a breath, 3 more. I don't answer right away. I look at the curtains and the door and my hands and decide whatever happens next cannot happen to me while I am still. I unlatch the bolt. A maid stands with a folded white dress poured over her arms like water. Behind her a captain waits with eyes down. Farther off the palace arranges faces. The day is here, and the choice I have been stepping toward since the chandeliers burned is no longer a thought. It is a door. The maid's voice is a softness trained to be useful. Your Highness, the king requests you wear this. My wolf arches her back and smiles without teeth. I take the dress and feel its weight lighter than duty, heavier than it looks. I set it over a chair by the window, so the early light can show it plain. Behind me, the balcony curtains take a quiet breath. I do not look. I do not need to. The promise is already made. Bring water hot enough to chase the night, I say. When the door closes, I stand one heartbeat inside the only quiet that belongs entirely to me. Then I begin to prepare for a morning that will not go the way my father wrote it. Dawn smudges the windows with thin silver and the maids move like quiet ghosts. They lay the white gown on the screen as if it were alive. It slides when I touch it, cool and compliant, the color of surrender dressed as virtue. I lace it tight and watch the mirror until the girl looking back stops flinching. This is wrong. My wolf presses against my ribs, restless as a storm behind glass. She hates the white. She hates the lie in it. I pin my hair back and listen to the chapel bell tap the household awake. Armor lifts somewhere far off. A steward whispers a list like a prayer. When I step into the corridor, 2 guards fall behind me with soft feet and empty faces. The morning hall is a river of banners and pale light. Stone breathes cold through my shoes. Northern lords arrive smelling of snow and iron. Counselors file in with eyes that measure first and greet second. Mountain warriors hold the rear, boots planted like they do not trust the floor. Wax and winter and leather cling to the air. My father takes the dais as if it was built around him. Red throws heat along his shoulders. His stillness tells the room what to do. Murmurs fold themselves small. Ronan waits near the front, smile tuned, cuffs precise, the kind of man who practices care in mirrors. When I join him, he brushes my elbow, a polite touch designed for watchers. You look radiant. The word sticks. I do not answer. The gown fits like a soft trap. My wolf presses harder. My father speaks without raising his voice. He names the hunt at moonrise, the old laws, the mercy that comes after memory, the order that keeps pups sleeping through the night. People relax when someone else promises to hold the dark. He turns the river toward me. The crown's future stands here. Strength passes through blood. Unity keeps us fast. Approval slides through the room like oil. I look at the far windows and think of cold air on a balcony and a voice in the dark that cut clean through noise. The doors at the end of the hall open with a small sound that changes everything. Heads turn and pretend they didn't. A figure steps into the light and keeps going as if the room belongs to him because nothing owns him. Aldrich does not wear a crest. Black holds to him like it was made with a blade. His eyes cut the hall and waste no motion. He stops near a pillar, where shadow lets floor be shadow. Space settles around him. A whisper runs through the hall. Moonless. My pulse stumbles. The bond rises like a thread pulled steady through skin. My wolf lifts her head and breathes one word that lights every nerve. Mate. I grip the rail until my fingers ache. Ronan sees where I look and brings his gaze back to me, sharpened thin. Do not. He means look away. He means pretend. I meet Aldrich's eyes, and do not pretend. Windows dim, banners blur. He looks like winter, written into a man. He looks like a map's edge where monsters used to be drawn to warn cowards. My father threads his voice back into the air, even and edged. Some chase novelty, some confuse quiet with weakness. This is a palace, not a market. Hold your tongues. Two counselors flush. A mountain captain nods to himself. The mask returns. Mine will not. Ronan steps half a pace forward, careful to look like a bridge. We welcome allies who honor the old laws. Some of us have more to honor than others. The line is soft enough to pass as manners, sharp enough to cut what it wants. A few men pretend to smile so they can say later they were only being polite. Aldrich does not posture, he does not bow. He lets the words pass. When he speaks, it reaches the back wall, without strain. Strength is not a costume. It is too simple to ignore. Heads turn fully now. Ronan's smile loses a fraction. A wolf without a wolf is a story for children. Heat climbs my throat. I could stand still and let it pass. I don't. The white squeezes my ribs as if it can own my breath. It cannot. The old laws were not written for costumes either. My father's look cuts, quiet and hard enough to halt my heart for a beat. Ronan's jaw tightens. The painting is speaking. My wolf enjoys it. Aldrich steps out of shadow, light laying a thin blade on the scar along his jaw. The guards at the edges adjust their weight without moving their hands. He stops a respectful distance from the dais and does not bend. We all run under the same moon. It looks where it wants. It does not ask permission. My father meets it with a practiced stillness. Attention has rules in this house. Aldrich does not lower his eyes. So do vows. The room forgets how to breathe. Ronan slides between like mortar. No one is asking you for a vow. Aldrich keeps his eyes on me. The attention lands like heat across skin. The pull tightens until it hurts and then turns into a sweeter pain that feels suspiciously like relief. That is the problem. A fan clatters and ricochets small and loud. My father lets the quiet grow teeth and then takes them out with one sentence. There will be order. He gives the council work, the fastest way to bleed tension without losing blood. Hunts, routes, names. The room begins to pretend again, but the river has shifted. Everyone can feel the sandbar. Ronan leans in, voice for my bones. You will come down with me when they dismiss. No, you should choose your ground, and I already did. He does not ask where, he knows, and Aldrich moves again, 2 steps, 3. He walks like he knows which stones gossip and which ones keep secrets. He stops at the base of the dais. He should address the king. He does not. There is an old rite older than this hall. When a bond calls in the open, a shield may be offered. It does not require fur to be real. Silence lands heavy. Council faces sharpen. Northern lords angle for the cut. Ronan's hand lifts, then retreats. My father watches Aldrich's mouth like a hunter watches a string at the notch. No one has offered you anything. I am. It is not loud. It is a fact set down like metal between us. The word shield has the weight of hands that stood between ugliness and something worth saving. You cannot claim what is mine to decide. I am not taking, I am setting myself where I intend to stand. Ronan steps forward fully now, arranging himself as a wall. This is beyond insult. The council will hear a protest. The king will answer. Aldrich's attention finally slides to him, flat and brief. Speak to the council. I spoke to the only one here who matters to the choice. The sound that moves through the hall is not quite laugh, not quite gasp. It has teeth. My face heats, and then steadies. My wolf fills my bones with approval until my knees want to give. My father lifts a hand. The hall freezes. He lets silence ripen until it forces every eye to him, and then to me, and then to the iron word between us. There are no choices today. There is order. There is a hunt. There is the work that keeps pups fed. There will be no theater under my roof. A steward steps forward with a ledger, dismissal without saying so. The anger in it is a rope held tight. Aldrich's jaw locks. Ronan wears something that looks enough like victory to calm the men who need it. Scrolls shuffle. Names are assigned to paths and posts. Northern lords fold their murmurs into beards. Mountain warriors keep watching like the woods just changed color. Aldrich does not move. He waits where his words fell. My father refuses him the courtesy of a look. It cuts just the same. Ronan lowers his voice. You will come. No. You will do harm you cannot contain. The harm exists already. Aldrich steps once more into danger as if it is just space. I will run the hunt with you. Murmurs flare. The court is made of rules. Attention is one of them. My father keeps his even temper. You are not of this house. We all run under the same moon. Flint on stone. My father's eyes go colder. Stillness thickens. The hall takes it in and stores it for nightfall. When edges are honest and words can't dress as shields. Then he gives a single nod, allowing without blessing. You may run, you will not lead, you will not speak for this house, you will not touch what is mine. My wolf bristles so fast the hairs along my arms rise. The word mine does not belong to him when it is tethered to me. I wrap both hands on the rail to keep my body from telling that truth with my teeth. Aldrich takes the terms the way he takes weather. He lifts his chin a fraction and looks only at me. The line between us tightens until I think it might sing. I will be where you can find me. To others it reads as compliance, to me it brands the air. Ronan shifts to block the line with his body. Enough. He intends to move me into his smooth story. He intends a solved equation. He intends a careful grip and a visible place. He intends. My father signals the steward to call final names. The room begins to empty in orderly streams. The mountain warriors go last, looking back over shoulders that have learned more sky than most men see. Aldrich holds his ground until the moving bodies hide decision. Then he steps back 3 paces without turning. His eyes stay on me the whole time. He sinks into shadow where floor becomes shadow again, and the seam swallows him. Ronan offers his arm, oiled hinge smooth. Come. I do not move. Do not make me your enemy. You made yourself that when you tried to hand me to yourself. Something raw shows in his face and vanishes behind polish. My father cuts the moment with my name. Aryana. I turn because not turning invites a war I cannot win this hour. He studies me like a problem he intends to outlast. The white glows like a polite lie. Wax cools. Plans breathe. Dismissed. The word fits the morning like a lid. I step down from the dais with a vow I did not speak beating against bone. The dress catches at my ankles. Stone folds my footsteps into quiet. Behind me, the court resets its favorite lie. Ahead, the doors are darker than they should be. Beyond them, hedges hold their frost, and the forest lifts its black spine into day. My wolf leans into me and breathes one promise that tastes like the start of a run. Soon. The hall drains out of me as I take the west stair. Banners, vows, Ronan's practiced smile. My father's voice pitched to sound like law, even when it is only pressure. The white dress whispers with each step, soft and relentless. I pass the portrait of a queen whose painted eyes have watched a century of women agree to lives that never asked their permission. I choose the garden door because I need air that has not been measured by the council. Cold catches in my throat. Frost rims the hedges, each leaf outlined in pale light. The fountain holds a steady voice that ignores thrones. I walk the gravel with my hands flat to my side so I don't tear the gown off in strips. Pebbles grind under my shoes. My pulse is louder than my steps. You run like prey. My wolf is not cruel, she is honest. I grind my teeth and slow until the pace feels like mine again. I am not prey. Then stop looking over your shoulder for permission. I still look once, habit too old to kill in a morning. The high windows keep a dim glow from the ceremony. Figures move behind the glass like brushstrokes. My father will be turning orders into weather. Ronan will be choosing a tone that makes control sound like mercy. Somewhere in that sea of motion, a line of iron lies on the floor, and a man stood on it as if born to be the blade. Mate. The word no longer shouts. It hums under skin like a vein. I take the narrow path behind the rose wall where the gardeners pretend not to see wild ivy. The palace forgets itself here. I breathe until my body remembers who it belongs to. Leather breathes behind me once, then stills. I do not turn. I knew, the second my hand touched the garden latch, that he would find the same air. I rest my palms on the cold rim of the fountain and watch a leaf spin on the surface, circling without drowning. You left the hall. The hedge carries his voice as if it grew for this. He does not crowd. He waits, letting space make the first move. I needed to remember what air feels like. Silence tastes like iron. He steps into view from the side, not behind, as if arrival should be something seen, not guessed at. Black suits daylight too well on him. The scar along his jaw is a truth no apology can soften. He wears no crest to excuse what he lacks. Your father will count this as defiance. He counts anything I do without his permission as defiance, and do you want his permission? A pale leaf touches stone at the basin and rests. I want a life that is mine when doors close. He takes in the dress with a slow look that begins at my collarbones and ends at my eyes. The gaze is clean. It finds the trap and refuses courtesy for it. That is not what they brought you to the hall to choose. They did not bring me to choose, only to perform. He stands a breath nearer than comfort, a breath farther than recklessness. Heat folds off him like a banked fire. You only notice it when you remember you were cold. When you touched my hand last night, something moved. The fountain keeps its song, a bird clicks somewhere in the hedge, counting seconds on my behalf. I hold mine. What moved? I do not know yet. Is it a wolf? If I had a name, I would give it to you. Honesty meets me harder than posture ever did. I turn, and the gown is loud about it, as if trained to call witnesses. Up close, his eyes are steel-rimmed in smoke. He reads what the truth does to me and does not blink. My wolf never tries to be gentle. She put the word into my blood the first time you looked at me. The corner of his mouth lifts by a fraction. The scar makes it fierce instead of pretty. I felt you from a room away. I knew the word before you spoke it. You are sure. I am sure my body is done lying to me. We look like a question the world should answer and refuses to. If I lean forward, I will take his heat without thinking. If I step back, I will fall into a life I did not choose. I stay where both futures can see me. Why did you offer the shield? Because protection is a form of truth. Because I will stand where danger arrives first. Because even this court remembers a word with old weight when it cannot admit what it recognizes. You made my father your enemy with one sentence. I made truth his enemy, he will change the name. The white itches like a lie that has learned how to sing. He looks at it and the dislike in his face steadies me more than any sympathy would. It looks like they wrapped you for a story they want the room to repeat. They want the room to stop asking questions they cannot answer. He moves, not closer to me, closer to the same piece of stone. His palm sets beside mine on the rim. We share cold, and the distance thins, without touching. You are mine. He does not raise his voice, he does not need to. The sentence moves through me as if it knew the way before he spoke. My wolf goes very still, not bowing, Not hunting. Deciding. She chooses a third thing. She breathes. Mine. I meet his eyes because anything else is a lie. You do not have a wolf. I have a vow. That will not silence a room full of gossip. Then I will silence the room and let the vow speak. Relief hits me so sharply I mistake it for pain. Voices drift from the far walk. I shade deeper between vine and pillar. He follows without asking me to move. A marble column holds ivy that slipped the gardener's hand. The alcove is cooler, close enough to taste the stone. You should go before they make a habit of finding you near me. They already have orders to watch where I choose to stand. I am done making their work easy. He lifts a hand toward a loose curl that escaped the pins when I fled the hall. His knuckles brush the strand where it rests against my skin. The contact is barely there. My body answers like a bell. I hold still because movement would be a decision my daylight cannot carry. Careful. I am tired of careful. The pillar takes my back. His palm meets the stone beside my head. His body is still a breath away. His breath is not. He studies my mouth as if focus were a touch of its own. My name crosses the narrow space like something it has always been waiting to be. Aryana. Yes. When I touched you, a door I have held with both hands since I was a boy shifted. Not a voice. A push. I am braced for the second push. A hum runs my length and returns to his hand through stone. I swallow it back. My palms are cold. The space between us is not. You should not be near me. I intend to correct that mistake as often as necessary. You will get us killed. I have lived long refusing to be cut by rumor. I will not start with truth. Footsteps tap the path beyond the hedge, too light for soldiers, too quick for my father's men. Two maids pass with a basket and soft talk. Their voices fade, and the alcove breathes again. Ronan will not let this pass. Ronan does not choose what I am. My father does. He draws the walls. He does not decide how we breathe inside them. A laugh wants out and changes shape on the way, turning into something warm that scares me more than anger. What are we doing? Naming things before other mouths do. He leans a fraction closer. The distance keeps the wanting honest. His mouth is near enough that the words touch first. You are mine. Say it like a question. No. Why? Because I will not beg you to admit what both of us already know. The answer steadies me the way a blade on a whetstone steadies in a sure hand. Warmth pours off him in slow waves. My wolf presses along my bones until my spine holds a line I did not learn in court. There is no mind link in him. I can feel the absence as clearly as a tongue finds a missing tooth. And yet something moves where silence used to be, a pressure in the air, a direction, a promise that doesn't ask for words. You were at my balcony. I was where I said I would be. I heard you without your voice. He searches my eyes as if color might give him a key. A shout carries from the corridor to the hall, a clipped note trying to sound routine. They are coming. Who? The boots answer for him, not many, enough to turn breath into politics. I should go. He doesn't. He angles his body so shadow and stone hold me first if anyone walks in. If they catch you here, they will make it a game. Then they should learn which games have edges. Do not be noble on my behalf. I am not noble. I am efficient. Corner the right wolf and you will discover whose teeth matter. The steps stop near the rose wall. A voice slips through with that careful politeness designed to make men forget it can be sharpened. Aryana. Ronan. His name tastes like a cold coin. Aldrich's eyes half close. He drops his hand. The shift feels like being pulled from heat into crisp air. He gestures once, a quiet instruction. Stay in shadow. You will be seen. Let them see what they need. You stay where they cannot practice on you. He is gone between one breath and the next, written into ivy and angle, the hedge swallowing him like it was planned for it. Ronan's boots make small crunches, the sound of a man who wants his steps admired. Two guards follow, faces polite the way knives are polite until used. There you are. I step into view with the old calm, the one I was trained to wear like skin. It works on most men. It works on him less and less. You left the hall without me. I needed air. You enjoy making me look foolish. You manage that on your own. Anger flares, then he sands it down and pulls charm back over it like silk. Your father expects you. Northern delegations are waiting. One guard checks the alcove, eyes narrowing, body almost hopeful. His partner angles toward the inner path. There have been reports along the north wall. Ronan's palm floats up in a gesture any friend could love. Patrol the hedge. I'll escort the princess. Hierarchy moves men faster than caution. They go. I let him take one step closer because theater demands it. He looks down at the white and strokes the hem between two fingers as if testing a purchase. You look exactly as you should. The sentence lands like threat because he wants it true. I turn toward the arch that leads back to lamps and lists. Heat warms under my skin at the inside of my wrist, small at first, then steady. Not fear, a lit coal in a dark grate. Ronan fills air with plans, and you will stand with me for the northern lords. Briefly, you will answer a goodwill question. Then the hunt council. Your presence will reassure the mountain packs. They respond to symbols. Words pass like wagons. I note them and let them go. The warmth grows. I slow, check a seam as if that is what I meant to do. Pale light breathes under the thin veins near my pulse, a wash of silver like moonlight on a narrow river. My heart knocks once, a sound escapes, only air. What? Nothing. You're pale. It is cold. He offers his arm. I let fingers brush cloth, not rest. The light answers, brightening and settling into a steady glow only I seem to know. In the alcove, he never touched my wrist. His hand hit stone. His breath found my skin. His vow found my bones. You are mine. The guards pass ahead, watching hedges pretend innocence. I angle my sleeve so the fabric veils the light. It pushes back through, a secret that refuses a lesson in manners. It will fade. My wolf does not indulge me, and it will not. It has to. It doesn't have to do anything but grow. I picture showing my father the taste of iron returns. I picture Ronan seeing. The air thins. I picture the council learning a new word for me and my lungs forget their training. A maid passes with a tray and tries not to see. The arch mouth darkens the corridor beyond. I stop before the threshold. The stone is a cliff. If I go back, they will ask me to be useful. You like being useful. Not as a sign. Ronan studies my face like a code he is owed. You're trembling. I am cold. His hand lifts toward my wrist, ready to claim pulse as an answer he can manage. I step back. The distance is small and final. Even he learns it means more than inches. Do not. He breathes, rebuilds, tries another angle. You enjoy making me the villain. You arrived as one without my help. I step through the arch. Wax replaces frost. Ink replaces ivy. The breath of rooms that keep secrets for men with power sits in my mouth. The fountain sings on behind me, as if it never learned obedience. Under my sleeve, the glow hums with my pulse. 2 notes braided. I cannot stand at the window and pretend. I cannot be a symbol with light moving under my skin like a vow that chose its own path. I keep walking because stillness is where fear overtakes me. At the corner, a shadow peels from stone, then settles again. Not a touch. A correction to air. The light under my skin lifts by a hair, answering a presence that refuses to be a spectacle. I want to run back to the ivy and demand he name what he did. I want to ask whether he meant to leave proof, or if the bond writes itself where it pleases. I want too many things. In the outer hall, the mountain warriors have not left. They stand under a window filled with cold light, voices low like water on rock. They straighten when they see me, not with mockery. With honest attention, men give a fellow hunter. Ronan, clears his throat for a steward. Names sharpen. Places are about to be spoken over me. I lift my chin. I move as if the white belongs to me and not the reverse. The glow keeps time with my pulse. It is not small. It is a door ajar, a message written by a hand that does not need ink. A vow presses the old bruise under my ribs. It does not hurt the way it used to. It feels like someone finally set a palm where I have been holding myself together alone and told bone to rest one moment. You are mine, my wolf answers before courtesy remembers itself. Ours. The steward approaches with a scroll. Ronan places me where the light will find me best. The mountain captain bows with blunt dignity, meant for equals. The northern lords arrive with phrases they want remembered. Farther down, my father's door stands half open, lamplight steady. The room breathing less often than the rest of the palace. Heat flares again at my wrist, not pain recognition. I tip my sleeve a fraction, as if pushing it into a better line. A thin wash of silver breathes, brightens, fades to a heartbeat's glow. It looks impossible. It is not. Footsteps change behind me, a pattern I have already learned to know without seeing. The corridor holds its breath. I do not turn. I do not need to. The light under my skin lifts once more, a small vow echoing the larger one that woke it. You are mine. The guard captain clears his throat for the steward to begin the list. My father's door opens the rest of the way. Ronan's fingers hover near my elbow and do not land. The glow warms under the thin fabric, a private star the court cannot claim. The future does not tilt away from me. It comes on steady and sure, and I understand with a clarity that steals the little breath I have left, that resisting him is no longer the point. The bond did not ask. It does not bargain. It only writes itself where it chooses, and it has chosen me. The steward's list ends and the corridor exhales. The mountain captain gives me a short bow that feels like acknowledgement rather than theater. Ronan tips my elbow to pull me toward some prepared conversation. But a page in royal colors arrives at a run, cheeks bright from cold and urgency. The king requests you now. Ronan's mouth becomes a practiced line. He gestures that we were on our way, then falls in behind me with a patience built for audiences. The page leads us down the inner passage where tapestries choke sound. A narrow window slices a view of the tree line. The forest looks closer than it should in daylight, like a guest who doesn't wait to be invited. My sleeve lies a shade too long for daytime grace. I keep it that way, letting the silk veil the heat under my wrist. Every few breaths, the warmth answers something that isn't in the room. The page notices nothing. Ronan notices too much. My father's door stands open. He doesn't turn when we step inside. He's studying a relief map carved into the wall, the north line cut like a scar. Candles pick out ridges as if the land had grown teeth. Close the door. The captain obeys. Ronan drifts to the side in a way that reads useful, not eager. I stand in front of the desk because that is always my place in this room. The light here is cold as logic. My father turns at last, eyes moving over my face and down, not leering, measuring. He clocks posture, breath, the angle of a chin, the story a daughter wears when she dares to have one. His gaze pauses at my cuff where silk lies carefully over my wrist. Show me your hands. I lift them, palms bare. The glow under my skin holds its breath like a child beneath a quilt. He studies without touching. Satisfied that skin is only skin, he looks back to my mouth where answers come from. You will not see Vaynor again. The words fall clean as iron, no scaffolding. I meant to wrap my reasons around them and pretend to agree. We share the same roof, that would be difficult. You are clever, you will make it less so. Ronan folds his hands, regret arranged across his features like fine linen. He invites disruption wherever he stands. The lords are unsettled. The council expects you to set the tone. The council expects many things it will not get. Ronan sands his smile smoother. The North respects strength. They will read compliance as strength. A princess who knows her place assures them the king knows his. My father lets the line float to see whether air or I will reject it first. At moonrise we hunt, he says. You will stand on the terrace and greet those who leave and those who return. You will not entertain fictions. You will not be alone. If you attempt to make tonight into a poem, I will end the story. He glances at the map as if rivers and roads could take insult. He tried to invoke an old rite. A shield, he adds, jaw hardening. I do not indulge relics. If he reaches for that word again, he will find air. He will reach anyway. He studies me as if remembering the younger version who used to answer faster. Do you imagine this is a negotiation? No. Good. He steps nearer. Lamplight inks a line down the white gown and turns the floor to water. His eyes hold me with that patient, freezing attention he reserves for problems he intends to outlast. He is not a solution for you. He is a problem I will move. He lacks the only thing that makes our kind worth following. Men without wolves become warnings. I will not see my daughter turned into one. My wolf lifts her head, not snarling, only steady. You are wrong. My father watches for the tremor under the skin that betrays me. I give him the same calm I gave the hall and the garden and the page who stared at my dress like it could decide anything. I hear you. You will obey. I will stand on the terrace. Something loosens in his shoulders. Not relief, control. He nods to a small chair near the fire, as if the room remembers children. I don't sit. Ronan steps forward into lamplight, angling himself to advantage without looking greedy. We should agree on your words for the lords, a greeting about order, perhaps a note on mountain routes. No vows, my father adds. I look at the map because paper landscape is easier than faces. Wax has cratered one corner where someone leaned a candle too close. I wonder whether the map screamed when it burned. If a stranger touches me on the terrace, I ask, what would you like me to do? No one will touch you. And if they try? They will not, Ronan says. I will be beside you. Not the answer to my question. My father's focus sharpens like a hawk's when a mouse moves. No one touches you without leave while I breathe. The threat vibrates the room's spine. I let the sleeve slide lower. The heat under my skin answers, a small defiant pulse that refuses anyone else's language. You are dismissed until the terrace. I turn. Ronan follows, a shadow that thinks it is sunlight. In the corridor, he tilts his head, concern curated like fruit. He is trying to protect you. He is protecting the picture he hung in the hall. You make it sound empty. It is heavy with meaning you chose. Do not throw me at him to make your point. Then stop building yourself into the wall I'm fighting. Silence knits itself around us. At the bend toward the west stair, he reaches again for a safer version of himself. Let me at least manage the terrace. You can stand where you like. He wants to ask where that will be. He doesn't. He peels toward the anteroom with a bow designed to be seen. I take the long corridor to my rooms alone. The mirror throws the white back at me with better manners than I have. I pull the pins from my hair until the weight settles and my neck forgets duty. The sleeve still hides my wrist. The small light beneath it makes the fabric glow like breath in winter. I loosen a glove and press my thumb to the glow. It warms me like a hand laid gently across an old bruise. Showing anyone is a mistake. Pretending it isn't there is also a mistake. I tie a narrow ribbon around my wrist under the cuff, not to hide it, to choose it. A tap at the door. Your Highness, shall I prepare the terrace gown? I have one. Very good. When the maid leaves, the room loses its small comfort sounds. I open the balcony doors. Day has chewed the frost down to damp. The hedges gleam dark. Beyond them, the forest stands like a line of soldiers who refused to come inside. It isn't moonrise yet, but the sky has learned the word. Everything has the quality of waiting. The pull starts where it always does, under my ribs, an old bruise learning a new name. It tightens and softens like surf against stone. I set my palms on the rail and close my eyes. I know you're there. No answer comes as voice, the quiet shifts shape. It feels like someone in a doorway, hand on the jamb, not crossing without invitation, not leaving without refusal. I open my eyes. He isn't at the rail. He stands at the garden's edge where a cypress casts a blade of shadow. He looks as if he has been there long enough to become part of the hedge. No one else would see him, unless they knew where to look. I know. I lift my sleeve to the elbow and turn my wrist outward where only the air can witness. The light answers even without the moon. Silver rises and fades, rises and steadies, a tide working in a small harbor. Across the grass, he tips his head as if saluting a banner he didn't expect to serve. You did something to me. No, the bond did. I touched only what was already awake. You left proof on my skin. It wanted a place to be seen. Bootsteps pass under the balcony. The guards don't look up. The air smells like damp stone and first leaves. My father will destroy you if you reach for me on the terrace. He can try to take what he never gave. If he cannot take it from you, he will take it from me. He is quiet long enough that I hear the fountain between his breath and mine. Then I will make it impossible to use you as a handle for his blade. You cannot keep watch every hour. I can choose the hours that matter. The line between us tightens into something my body can hold. Not comfort, alignment. A road and a compass agreeing. You told the room you would run the hunt. I will be where you can find me. Do not get yourself killed to prove a point. I know a different point worth proving. A bell ticks in the north tower, not alarm, only the note that tells patrols to change routes. The day leans toward night. He raises a hand a fraction, only for me, then turns toward the far wall where the forest waits. The line between us stretches and refuses to break. It feels like a rope thrown across a river, hands set, feet braced. I don't sleep. I wash the hall from my skin and let the maid pin a cloak over the white so the terrace wind won't make a spectacle of me. As she steps back, her gaze catches briefly on my wrist. The ribbon tames the light, but something must have shown. Is there anything else you require? No. She leaves. The corridor swells with sounds that always gather before a hunt. Leather greeting muscle, steel checking its own song, low words that aren't prayers and are. The palace, which pretends to dislike animal things, breathes like a body. The terrace opens to wintering sky. Braziers stand unlit along the balustrade like guards waiting their turn. Nobles find their places by habit. Northern lords wear their weather without apology. Mountain warriors face the trees as if walls bore them. My father steps out last. Stone receives him the way floors learn to flatter. He signals, and fire moves along the terrace like a rumor turned warm. He nods at me. The gesture includes without inviting. Ronan takes his place at my right with the exact weight of a promise nobody asked him to make. He leans close. A greeting only, then stillness. I let my sleeves fall straight. The ribbon presses the light. It answers, patient and sure, refusing to fear flame. The gates open for the hunters. Banners stir. Wolves wearing human skin roll their shoulders like men checking whether bone still agrees with both shapes. Generals count. A horn speaks once. Permission, not farewell. The crowd ripples the way wheat does when wind writes in it. The movement crosses the terrace, pours down the stairs, spills into the yard, and runs along the wall toward the dark rise of trees where a man in black pauses at the seam of shadow before he goes. I don't say his name, my wolf doesn't need it. Ours. Ronan clears his throat to begin the script I'm meant to anchor. The words taste like chalk. I step to the rail one breath early and let my voice carry. Run well. Return. 4 words, enough. They land where speeches can't. The mountain captain's mouth roughens into something almost like a smile. My father neither nods nor refuses it. Ronan exhales like a man swallowing a plan he thought would fit. The horn sounds again, men descend. The river of the hunt takes shape. The night lifts its head without showing teeth. In the movement, someone's hand brushes my cloak near the wrist. A stranger practicing boldness. Heat flares under my cuff before thought can arrive. meeting a danger that hasn't decided to be one. I turn. The hand retracts into a body that pretends to be elsewhere. The glow steadies like a heartbeat choosing its pace. Ronan shifts into the gap in front of me slow enough that it reads proper, not protector. Are you hurt? No. You must stand here. I will stand where I can see. My father says my name without looking away from the gates. Stay. I stop. Obedience is a blade I have learned to hold by the safe end when I must. The hunters file beneath the arch. The braziers obey. The wind changes from river cold to leaf cold. The moon touches the roofline like a coin being counted. I know the moment his body leaves the last stone and gives itself to ground. The pull inside me lifts so suddenly I need the rail for one breath. No one else notices my knuckles whiten. Ronan notices and chooses not to place a hand on my arm. You will speak with the lords as they depart, he murmurs, saying, later? Now? No. He swallows the noise that tries to become authority. The last riders pass. The horn lets a final note into the winter air. The terrace breathes. Men who won't run practice courage at the rims of their cups. The mountain captain stays until the gate swallows the last of his men, then bows once, and disappears without needing permission to go. I look past fire and faces and learn again how to find a single shadow that belongs to me in a crowded world. It moves like someone who has read the night 1,000 times, got 1,000 answers, and kept going. Moon clears the roof. The glow under my cuff meets it. Not a flare, a pulse. A steady low oath under a ribcage. You are mine, Aryana. The moon has chosen, even if it never gave me a wolf. The words don't arrive as sound, they arrive as pressure, as a precision in my bones, as a direction that refuses to be confused by lantern light. My wolf opens her mouth to the sky and gives no sound at all. The howl lives in me without needing air. I understand something simple and unbearable. The choice I tried to make between duty and wanting was never the choice. The true question is whether I let other people write my name on their maps or learn to draw a line with my own hand. Ronan talks of rotes and goodwill. His voice is no match for the rhythm of bodies trading 2 legs for 4, for the memory of a hand on stone, for the old word falling like iron in a hall that hates clean weight, for the quiet light beneath a ribbon refusing to dim for anyone's comfort. I will not escape this, I am not supposed to. Resistance is only a slower kind of surrender that wastes time I no longer own. The terrace tilts a fraction, then finds itself. No one else feels it. My fingers close over my wrist as if I can hold the light in place. It doesn't need me. It has chosen where to live. In answering it, I have chosen him. Whether I admit it before braziers or only here, inside my ribs where no one can accuse me of disloyalty. I lift my chin and look past the wall into the first narrow dark between trees, the cut where the river of the hunt narrows to a blade. The shadow I know doesn't look back. He doesn't need to. The line between us hums like a string tuned to a note only we can hear. When I breathe, it feels like a beginning. Moonlight lifts over the palace like a thin blade, and the courtyard answers with one clean breath. The gates open, and the horn calls the hunt into motion. Men move as men for a heartbeat, then let their bodies remember the other shape. Leather drops, bones shift. The sound is a rush of gravel and breath and the short prayer of steel to steel before the river of bodies pours under the arch. I stand at the terrace rail until the stone cools the bones of my hands. Braziers wake along the balustrade, orange climbing carved faces, and turning them kind. Nobles hold to their tidy groups. Northern lords carry weather into every corner. Mountain warriors face the trees like men talking to old friends. My father stands at the center of it as if the courtyard was built to hold exactly his weight. Ronan offers me a place beside him with a practiced angle of his arm. I pretend to adjust my cloak and do not move. Under my sleeve, the ribbon presses the warm light at my wrist. It answers the horn with a patient pulse. Steady, certain, refusing to be trained by public light. Run. My wolf is done being polite. She pushes at my ribs, testing the bars I set around her. Not yet. Wind slips in from the outer wall and brings the cold breath of pine. The garden darkens into neat blocks edged with frost. Beyond the wall, the forest stops caring about lines. Wolves spill into it, and the hunt becomes what it always is when stone lets go. Branches write and erase. Frost cracks. The ground talks in an old language. Somewhere out there, an unlucky buck or a clever boar makes the mistake that gives the night a story. I lean forward until the rail presses a hard line into my stomach. Along the wall's shadow, a figure runs without lowering to 4 legs. He keeps the pace the pack expects, as if he invented it. Long, clean strides. Motion, measured like breath. The wolves around him do the thing bodies do when an older rhythm enters the room. They fall into it without asking why. He does not shift. He does not need to. He becomes gravity, and the ground learns how to hold him. A gray wolf with a torn ear tries to surge past. Aldrich does not look, and the gray remembers where to be. A young black female crowds too close. One lift of his hand makes space for her without insult. The forest edits itself to fit him. The ribbon warms. The pulse at my wrist feels like a second heart learning how to answer. Mate, the word is not a whisper anymore. It sits in my bones like a fact. My wolf wants movement. She lifts her head and paces along my spine. Ronan goes by in a rush of bronze and bright teeth, a handsome threat dressed to be seen. 2 of his men flank him too close, the kind who need their leader large so they can feel larger. He cuts toward the main current, then veers for the narrow run under pine where shadows learn tricks. He finds Aldrich because anyone who wants to find him will, and anyone who does not will never keep up. Ronan circles once, twice, brush snapping at his flanks. He flashes tooth. It is the sort of show the court prefers, danger you can measure in clean lines. Aldrich does not answer in kind. He keeps his eyes on the space ahead where a downed trunk will break the pack if greedy bodies shove. He lowers his palm. The simple signal pups learn before they can count. The lead pair check their pace. The line smooths where it would have stumbled. Ronan slides across his path in a leap meant to display ease, lands and looks back with a wolf face that manages to be smug. The terrace goes quiet in the way rooms go quiet when people stare without wanting to look caught. Aldrich stops not because he must, but because stillness is sometimes louder than motion. He turns his head and meets Ronan's gaze with a flat weight that removes the need for language. The golden wolf steps closer. Aldrich shifts his balance into his heels. You could count the breath between them. No sound carries to me. It is not a mind link. It is the closing of a hand around a swinging rope. The nearest wolves lower their heads before they know they did. The field takes 1 step back because it was standing too close. Ronan's lips pull to show fang, and then recover. His front paws spread the smallest fraction wider as if he remembered the ground. He glances away to break the line, quick and almost nothing. It is enough. He looks up again and the moment is gone. But it happened. The forest knows what it saw. My wolf makes a sound I have never felt from her, a pleased note that sits next to hunger. Run to him. Not yet. She pushes. Heat rises along my throat. The white of the dress under my cloak feels like a lie with laces. My father lifts a hand and a steward fits a goblet there with reverence, as if offering a flame to decide whether to bless or burn. He does not drink. His eyes hold to the gate because he likes to watch things leave and pretend he is the one who lets them return. Ronan's mother speaks of road seams and winter tar to a northern lord who does not care. A cousin asks a question he should not ask, and gets hushed with the gentle cruelty families use on their own. Aldrich moves his palm from low to lower, easing the pack around Thorn. He slides between 2 bristled trunks where men snag sleeves. Ronan grabs a running branch in his teeth and breaks it, not because it was in his way, but because he needs something to split. A rider at the back curses softly where no one important will hear. The forest opens to rock. I cannot see the whole incline, but sound changes when ground stops lying flat. Footfalls turn to scrapes. The horn calls from higher up and finds something hard to bounce against. Aldrich catches a streak of birchlight and becomes the same shape I have watched all day, the one rooms make without asking when they cannot pretend a body is furniture. He stops again, not because he has to, but because a problem will be answered cleaner if you meet it standing. Ronan faces him fully, hackles measured, ears forward to read. 2 males fan left, loyal to tricks more than to men. Aldrich sets his stance so every path to his body must cross his reach. He does not puff his shoulders. He grows heavy in the air. The scene simplifies to a man and a problem he will not let become mess. The golden wolf nips at the space between patience and insult. Aldrich refuses to give that space a name. He steps into it like a man entering a room where someone sleeps, and he will not wake them. It startles the wolves more than aggression would. The left male stumbles and recovers. The golden wolf loses a heartbeat. In that cut of time, permission is removed. The test dissolves into cold air. Ronan's tail dips before he pulls it back up. He huffs and turns, a sharp line that insists it was always his choice. The pack splits. Many follow the deeper current Aldrich offers. The rest drift after Ronan and his need to be seen. The courtyard shifts the way a house shifts when a storm decides which wall to hit. He did that without a wolf, and the thought lands without ceremony. The light under my ribbon grows warmer. I uncurl my fingers and let it be seen by my own eyes, if not by anyone else's. Hiding in a sleeve is rehearsal for hiding in a life. The horn speaks in 3 quick notes from the ridge. I do not know the words, but I feel the hunt's spine lengthen. It stops chasing victories that fit in a mouth and looks to weather and bridges. Aldrich lifts his head as if tasting the same thought. His attention tilts toward the palace, measuring walls the way a scout measures rivers. My knee hits the rail. The thread inside my chest tightens to a bright, clean line that runs under the birches. The nearest flame leans toward it and remembers its manners and stands straight. Run to him, and her voice is not gentle, it is function. No. I do not know if I answer or if that is fear wearing loyalty again. The taste of iron is the same either way. The first wave thins. A second gathers and goes. A woman I do not know speaks of omens. My father does not move. Ronan's mother looks at me with pity dressed as victory. I lift my chin a degree. She looks away. The forest is layered gray now, not black. Aldrich crosses a spill of light and slows at the outer wall, where pines press their needles hard against stone. He cannot see my face if the world obeys rules I grew up with. The world has not been cooperative. He stops. He turns his head not toward the ridge or the horn or Ronan. He turns toward the terrace. Toward me. The pull under my ribs knots into a single bright ache that could be relief if I let it. Our eyes meet across garden and wall and cold. Distance drops the way a story forgets lesser parts when it reaches its point. Heat blossoms under the ribbon and slides along the tendons of my wrist, up my arm, into the small muscles at the base of my throat. My body answers first. The thing in him that is not a wolf and not absence sets into the lines of his face, a precision of breath, a stillness that makes the moon decide to stand where it can watch better. Mate, my wolf does not waste the word on a howl, she names it like a law already written. Ronan's voice reaches my ear from the polite distance he likes when the court watches. You should step back from the edge, and I do not look at him, and I can see. Your father is watching, let him. The light under the ribbon insists. It is not bright, not for anyone else. But it is enough to remind me I am not wrong. It is enough to make me forget the cold. Down along the wall, Aldrich holds my gaze long enough to make a promise with no word. If I do not move, he will climb. Not now. Not here. But he will not ask the stairs for permission forever. My father turns his head a fraction. I drop my eyes to the yard because I am not ready to be a story told by the wrong mouth. When I look back, Aldrich has already given the distance its distance again. He runs not away, not toward, but along the angle that will end at the same place. The horn calls from farther out. The terrace tightens around me, full of faces I can name and a hunger that does not want names. Run. My wolf is done pretending patience. I press my palm flat against the ribbon and hold the light where it burns and promise the part of me that still believes in morning that I will not break open on a terrace for a crowd that hopes to witness it. Soon, I left the terrace before the warmth could trick me into standing there like part of the stone. The braziers threw a soft glow that made everything look gentler than it was. A steward called a name that was not mine. Ronan drifted in my periphery the way smoke moves to find lungs. I chose the servant's stare because it did not care who watched. Cold settled down the steps and cleared my thinking. The sleeve over my wrist felt heavier than cloth. Under it, the light answered each footfall as if the stairs were beating time for it. A tapestry brushed my shoulder in the gallery and its stitched wolves seemed to follow me with bored old eyes. I cut through the anteroom and out the garden door before a maid could plant a curtsy between me and air. Night had climbed closer to the walls, the hedges glittered with frost, each leaf outlined as if the garden had been drawn before it was grown. The fountain kept its small voice, a promise that water would be water, even when told to perform. I passed the rose wall where the gardeners pretended not to see ivy, and stepped into the narrow path by the cypress, the one shadow could keep. Run to him. My wolf had given up on courtesy. She pressed against my ribs, impatient for the door in me to open. I am coming. The knot in my chest loosened a little, enough to breathe without scraping. Beyond the hedges, the forest lifted its black spine. Horn notes touched the tree line and came back thinner, as if the trees wanted to keep more than they shared. Birds lifted and resettled, wings bright and nervous in the dark. I reached the garden wall. The stone was damp and cool and took my palm the way a bargain takes breath. The light under my ribbon warmed, rolled, then tightened like a muscle choosing its weight. The pull was no longer a point under my ribs. It was everywhere at once. Leather whispered against stone behind the hedge. Frost rattled under a boot. The leaves gave in, making room as if the night had asked nicely. A shape pulled itself out of the dark, building a man out of edges and breath and the kind of patience you carry when you refuse to stop. Aldrich stepped into the garden and turned the light into something cleaner. His sleeve was ripped along the forearm where a branch had found him. A thin red line marked his cheek and made the unmarked skin look too pale. Blood darkened his knuckles and was not his. He smelled like pine and iron and cold. He stopped far enough that gossip would fail and vows could be heard. You should not be here. You called me. You should have forgotten it. I tried. The hunt moved behind him like a tide that did not need witnesses. The ribbon warmed again, insistent. I understood it would not be content to be private. My father will kill you for this. He can try. He will try me first. He will learn that a handle made from his daughter is not a blade. That is not a comfort, it is a boundary. He closed the space by half, not reckless enough for the air to learn a new subject. The white dress pushed under my cloak as if trying to claim me again. He looked at it with clean dislike and my spine steadied. They wrapped you for a story and they want applause. His gaze moved across my face, then to the hedge line and the curve where the path met the pillar that remembered my back. He moved with the economy of someone who steals time while appearing to waste it. His palm set to the pillar just above my shoulder. He did not touch me. The space decided what it was for. You belong to me and I belong to myself, then choose me as part of that. You make it sound simple. It is. It costs. That is not the same as complicated. A guard laughed somewhere past the rose wall, the kind of laugh men use to bury a startle. Ronan's name carried from an arch and thinned, as if the night disliked the sound. You offered a shield in a room built to refuse your existence. I set myself where I will stand when the blade comes. You do not have a wolf, and I have a vow. And something else now. What? A pressure. Heat behind the sternum. The sense that I am not alone in me when you are near. My heart stumbled and found a new rhythm that felt ancient, like finding a road hidden under grass. A wolf. I will not lie to you. I do not know what to name it yet. But it is not nothing. It moves when you breathe close. My palm on the wall went cold with sweat. My wolf pressed her head into my chest the way a creature leans into a hand it chose on the first day. He lifted his other hand slow enough that every nerve in me had time to vote. His fingers were rough with work the court praises without knowing. He took my wrist in his palm as if receiving something that could decide for itself. His thumb found the ribbon. He did not look down. He watched my face while he slid the ribbon aside with care that made me shake. The glow rose to meet him. It was not fire. It was the kind of light that lives under skin and borrows breath. When his thumb crossed it, heat climbed my arm in a fine line and split open the careful place where I kept myself. He pulled a breath in, not sharp deep as if air met resistance, and left with a story. I felt the push move through him. His body took it like a locked door finally leaned on by someone who knew how doors work. His jaw tightened. The scar along it blanched. He did not drop my wrist. His hand held and the heat learned to trust it. A sound moved through me that was not in the air and not my wolf and not any prayer I had been taught. It was low. It was the first note of a storm you smell before rain. It did not belong to me. It belonged to him, and he had never had it until now. My wolf went utterly still, then bent her head without losing pride. Do you hear it? Yes. His eyes changed without changing color. Behind them, something old looked out through a human face and judged the world acceptable enough to hunt in. He flexed his hand, not to shake me off, to test the answer of his own bones. His mouth softened with a relief so sharp it almost hurt to watch. It hurts. Good. We both laughed once, quick and quiet. The sort of sound you make when pain finally chooses a purpose. He lowered our joined hands and rested my knuckles against the pillar like setting a truth where it could be witnessed. He did not step away. Heat reached me through cloak and linen, and the garden seemed colder around it, as if the night wanted to keep this from burning before it took root. Your father will move the world to make you into a story that suits him. He always has. He will count me as your first lesson, and he already did. Shadows passed beyond the hedge. The shape of two guards who had learned my name makes boots quieter. The light under my skin calmed to a steady pulse. It felt like two hands finding each other in a crowded room and refusing to be embarrassed. He lifted my wrist again and turned it toward the moon still climbing. The silver answered, as if the sky recognized its own mark. He watched it rise and settle, and then looked back at me with a question men do not earn unless the answer is already theirs. Do you want me to stop? No. He let the ribbon fall into place and the cloth pretended it had not moved. The warmth under it refused to pretend. It rested like a simple fact. You are shaking, and I know you are afraid, yes, of him. Of losing the part of me that is mine even when you look at me like that. I am not here to replace you. I am here to stand with what you choose. You make a vow sound like permission. It is also a blade. He leaned in, slow enough for even regret to change its mind. His forearm set along the pillar beside my head. His breath found my cheek. He did not touch my mouth. He did not need to. The intention read across my body and braced it, and that bracing felt like a kind of surrender I could live with. Say the word, Aryana. Which one? Yours. A laugh escaped before I could stop it. He watched it with focus that honored even that small release. He shifted, his mouth a breath from my ear, and made the world narrow to his voice. I have been alone in my own bones since I was a boy. Tonight something in me opened its eyes. It looked at you first. It will not close them again. What will you call it? Mine, ours, wolf when it earns the name. The low sound came again, a growl that belonged in the place people use for mind links and refused to ask permission to exist. It rolled through me and my wolf answered by making room without argument. Not command. Recognition. Ronan will not forgive this. He is not owed forgiveness by a truth. He will try to stain you with it. Let him mark my skin. He cannot reach what woke. Footsteps paused on the path beyond the hedge. A guard cleared his throat in that polite way men use before doing something impolite. Aldrich shifted without touching me, setting his shoulder where a spear would need to be to matter. My lungs took the hint and filled. You cannot shield me from a crown, and I can stand where the blow lands and teach it to miss. I can force it to carry weight it thought to escape. My wolf pressed again, not to drive me, to test the bones he had woken. They complained and steadied. You told me your patience would not be a cage again, and it will not. Then do not turn me into one either. His mouth found a shape that was not smile and not iron. He understood. His fingertips rose to my jaw, not to hold, to mark. His thumb hovered a hair from my mouth. The restraint ruined me in the best way. I will not ask for surrender. I will take your choice when you decide. There is very little left of me that wants to wait. Not here. Not with men who think a balcony is a stage and your body is their cue. You would take me into the forest instead. I would walk beside you until the trees remembered your name. I turned my face into his palm because it was the only prayer that never lied. His breath went rough, then found itself. Heat jumped at my wrist, fell, then settled into a new, sure rhythm. You feel it too? Yes. Describe it. A wall that was a door. Pain that is useful. A voice that does not need words. That is enough. A shout carried from the far side of the garden, thin with the nerves of men who want to return and be praised for it. The horn spoke once, then again, closer this time. The courtyard lifted its chin and tried to look like it had expected to survive. You should go, and I cannot walk back into that light with this on my skin and pretend I do not know what it is. Then do not pretend. Wear it under your sleeve and let it decide who has earned the right to see. He lowered his hand. The pillar stole the heat like a thief who knew where to run. He glanced toward the wall, measuring angles he did not need advice for. Say it again, you are mine. The words did not land like ownership. They settled like a truth the night already knew. My wolf answered with that pleased sound I was learning to live with. We are not alone in this, no. Ancient things are waking. Yes. They will not be negotiated with, no. I smoothed the ribbon under my cuff. The light pushed back like breath. The hedge rustled as if touched. A shadow shifted by the cypress where the path narrows. The hunt was turning toward home. The palace was ready to write its version. The obedient part of me lined up the neat acts that would keep the world small. I know the smell of a story that does not belong to me. He stepped back one pace. I survived the air between us. He followed the hedge toward a deeper angle as if that shadow was an ally rather than a trick. If you go now, they will think they moved you. They move sand, they do not move stone. Come when you can without feeding the wrong mouths. I will be where you can feel me. You will be seen. Let them see shadow. Let them guess. Let what woke in me learn its size where votes do not count. His hand reached for my wrist without touching. The light there tightened. Not in fright, in readiness. His eyes held mine one heartbeat longer than is wise, and then released me with the rough kindness of someone who knows climbs and will not carry you without your ask. Go. I turned toward the arch. Night breathed over my bare knuckles where the ribbon had slipped, and for a moment I believed it carried his vow like a scent. The horn called from the yard. Boots began their orderly song. Cups found hands and men rehearsed courage at their rims. Under my sleeve, the glow kept time with a heart that had decided to stop apologizing. At the top of the steps, the terrace light waited. I paused and looked back. Hedge, stone. The patient fountain holding a line the moon would claim soon. It did not matter. Pressure under my ribs answered a presence that did not need eyes. It was there, stirring, and the world we had been given was already too small. The mark burned gently, pain as reminder rather than punishment. The fear I had carried because I thought it kept me safe went quiet. A steadier fear took its place, that I would pretend not to hear what I now understood. I stepped into the courtyard glow and let faces find me. My father's door opened. Ronan turned a measured smile toward me like a polished blade. The night between my bones and the world did not care. It had decided to wake, and it would use me to do it. The courtyard has trained itself to look calm when it is waiting to judge. I step into its glow and feel every gaze take the measure of me, not in numbers, in shape. My father's door opens wider, as if the room is breathing. Ronan turns his practiced smile toward me like a polished blade. Braziers lift their fire, and the light pretends stone can be kind. Beyond the wall, the horn calls closer now. The palace shifts into the pattern it wears when it plans to praise survival. A boy with a tray fumbles at a barked name. A northern lord clears his throat to suggest he has thoughts about roads. A laugh lands too tight and dies on the flagstones. Under my sleeve, the mark answers the horn. The ribbon warms. The pulse is steady, sure, a metronome that belongs to someone else and has decided to live in me. My wolf paces under my ribs with short, efficient strides and refuses to pretend she is patient. I angle toward the balustrade as if I am only taking air. What I want is the seam of shadow where the hedge holds its breath. A guard steps to intercept with the gentle authority used on children and very old men. I stop before he can lift a hand. I will stand where I can see. He hesitates because the answer is not obedient enough to love and not improper enough to fight. He nods and steps aside. Smoke pulls toward the open garden as if it wants to run before men tell it what shape to make. I move down into the dark. Frost picks out every edge of the hedge and teaches it how to be silver. The fountain keeps its voice low, a soft line of water that does not need an audience. Far beyond the wall, a single horn note carries shoulders. Under the arch, boots begin their careful song. The hunt has turned for home. A hand finds my waist in the space between two breaths. Not grabbing. Placing. The world remembers that breath can be a command. Heat, control. The precise patience of muscle trained not to flinch. My body knows the hand before it knows anything else. He draws me into the deeper angle where ivy lets stone keep secrets. My back touches shadow that has learned to be patient. His chest settles against mine through cloak and bodice the way a vow settles into a room and quietly decides how the air will behave. Do not move. His mouth is near my ear. The words travel no distance and fill me anyway. I listen and hear what he heard first. 2 sets of boots. Men rehearsing how to sound like they are not trying to sound like anything at all. They stop at the turn and choose being important over being thorough. The princess is with the king. The other man makes a small noise that means he is not convinced and will pretend he is. They move on with the soft arrogance of people who think stone belongs to them. Aldrich does not step away. He waits until the garden breathes again and then takes his palm from my waist as if the movement itself is its own language. My body translates too easily. Heat climbs my throat and makes a lie of the cold. You should not be this close and then make me far, and I cannot. We stand in a narrow world. The hedge to our left, the pillar to our right, the night crowding close. He lets the silence grow teeth. Torches flare along the wall. Wind brings the clean, wild scent of wolves. My blood answers without asking permission. He leans until his breath crosses my cheek. He does not speak. He waits for the word I can live with. I am going to be found here. Only if you want to be. Do not turn my fear into a choice you get to grade. You confuse readiness to act with eagerness to own. I am neither. What are you? Hungry. Awake. Done apologizing to men who mistake quiet for absence. Under my sleeve, the light swells and settles like a tide. His hand finds my wrist through cloth. He does not lift the ribbon. He covers the mark with his palm. Heat travels through me and back into him. His breath stumbles and resets. That low sound returns, the one from the garden, like thunder rehearsing behind far hills. It is learning to speak. Steps take the last stairs in a hurry meant to sound like purpose and sounding mostly like nerves. I turn my head and catch a sliver of movement beyond the pillar. Ronan assembles himself into a confident silhouette. Shoulders square, hands loose, a man trained by mirrors. He does not look into shadow. That would admit shadow contains things worth looking for. He studies the fountain instead and compliments the engineering to a guard who has heard better lies. He tilts his head to slide his voice sideways. Aryana. I do not answer the first time. He gives me the grace to try again without witnesses. Aryana, come up. Your father wants all faces visible. Aldrich's hand tightens, not from fear, from calculation. A soldier measuring distance, exits. The count between now and the moment a king's gaze would catalog everything. The glow presses up into his palm as if it refuses modesty. I angle my body and the light becomes a thing we keep, not a thing we hide. He reads the change without my eyes. He is not the danger, and I am aware. He is the knife a more dangerous hand will use. I am aware. Choose then. I hate that he is right. I love that he will say it. The arch frames Ronan too neatly. The air around me whispers, there is still time to be good. The body against mine reminds me the hour has stopped, asking politely. I will go up. He does not release my wrist. The light stays with you. Yes. Boots scuff stone under the arch. A horn gives a small mercy for riders who took the outer line and did not die for it. Voices lift one by one, pretending they are not counting names. The palace tries to remember what life looks like when it is not hunting. It fails. He steps closer by the smallest degree. The world narrows to the part of him that touches me, the part that thinks about touching me and does not, and the part that speaks at the back of his breath and promises the night is not done with us. A torch flares on the stair and light rides down like a shout. He moves before it finds me, angling his shoulder to catch the flare and throw it where the hedge will eat it. Do not save me and make me smaller, and I am not. I am teaching light where to look first. His restraint ruins me. My hand finds the front of his coat, a small fist that could be read as anger and is only proof my bones want anchor. He yields exactly enough and refuses the rest. He is not soft. He is not cruel. He is a shape that has finally learned what it was made to hold. I almost lift my face. I almost give the first honest choice of my life to hedge and board guards. I stop. The sound that leaves me is not sob, not laugh. It is a warning to myself about what I am capable of when invited. He hears it and makes no noise, only lowers his head until his next breath counts as an answer. He will not make this easy to misname. Say what you want. I want you alive. That is not the same as wanting me. It is the only way I get to want you longer than tonight. He lets that stand as if it has always been the ground here. He adds the rest quietly, a weight set where it belongs. You belong to me, and I do not argue. Argument would be theater. He takes my silence as the consent it is and does nothing with it except become more precise. I will claim you. When you claim me. The ground tilts a fraction and I lean into the pillar. He lays his palm over my wrist again, not to restrain, to fix me to a truth that will not move when others decide to. The glow answers, threads into him and back into me. The sound at the back of his breath grows nearer to a growl and not unfamiliar. The horn cuts across everything, nearer than it should be. A shout rises from the far stair, not triumph, not fear, the sound men make when hierarchy comes into view. My father steps out by the council rooms and the yard sets its spine. Aldrich's mouth moves a fraction from my ear. His voice finds the place the light has already warmed. I am not leaving you. You are if you want me alive. He checks angles, habits, the line from our shadow to open stone, the span between this heartbeat and my father's next look. Math that does not flatter us arrives. Guards spill along the hedge from the far side. Not fast. Thorough. Ronan takes 2 steps toward the garden with concern he will be proud of later. Air fills me like a punishment. Go. He does not move. Go now. He moves. He does not vanish so much as teach the garden how to forget. Shadow learns his shape. He takes the path that was not a path until someone with the right stride used it 3 times and made it 1. He becomes seam, then fold, then hedge. I lose him and still feel him stand exactly where he is. His absence is presence, heat lingering where a hand left. He leaves one gift in the air against my skin like a coin into a palm that knows how to keep it. You cannot hide from me, Aryana. The moon has written us in blood. The words land without sound and take their place like a law that was always there and waited for someone brave enough to read it. Ronan calls my name again, nearer. The night pretends not to carry it. The ribbon burns. The heat is clean, precise. I step out of shadow as if the air at my back is not full of vows. Two guards startle, embarrassed by ghosts that know how to walk on stone. Ronan looks me over with appraisal dressed as concern. There you are, and I am here. Your father called for you twice, and then I am fortunate to be found. He glances behind me into shadow as if desire could make eyes learn honesty. The garden does not work for him tonight. He offers his arm. I let the space between us do the refusing. He turns the gesture into a courtly sweep and looks satisfied with his skill. We climb into the courtyard's glow. The glow keeps time with my pulse. The returning hunters line the yard in a long lived-in curve. Men who did not die laugh too loudly. Men who did not run well lower their faces. My father stands at the top of the stair and holds the yard steady with a gaze that has practiced for decades. Aryana. I stop halfway because I do not have a better answer. The yard quiets enough for my name to work. He studies how I have arranged my body, and therefore my day. He notes cloak, sleeve, the way the white remains white. He notes everything. He hides conclusions as neatly as knives. He lifts a hand, the gesture I have obeyed since I knew what obedience was. Come. I go because not going would be a louder mistake than I can feed tonight. Ronan keeps to my right, as if his body were an argument. The mountain captain watches without the court's hunger to pretend care. The northern lord forgets his roads. The mark burns once, a clean line of heat that moves through bone like messages carried the old way, runner to runner across hills. My wolf lifts her head and opens her mouth to the sky I cannot see. She makes no sound. None is needed. The answer is already inside. At the top of the stair, my father does not look at my wrist. He looks at my eyes. He is not a fool. Light hides. Resolve does not. He waits as if silence will do his work. You left the terrace. I do not invent a lie that will feed him. I returned. He neither approves nor announces suspicion. He lets the yard turn air into law. Because yards are good at that, if a king breathes in the right place. We will discuss the hunt. I nod once. The ribbon presses back, keeping the light private without making it weak. Under my shoes, I can feel where Aldrich stood not 20 breaths ago, as if the garden has decided to keep his weight in its memory, the way it keeps water in roots. He is near. He is gone. Both can be true. I think of the pillar, his palm over my wrist, the small violence of not kissing, the sharper kindness of being spared a belonging that would have been true and used against me by mouths that did not earn it. I think of the low growl he cannot yet control, the way it rolled through me like a storm choosing which wall to hit. I feel the line he left me pulled tight across the yard, a rope thrown over distance with two hands waiting. My father turns to speak of clean lines and safe returns and the mercy we owe the woods if we expect it to hold us next time. He does it well. Ronan watches my face instead, calculating how much of me can be accounted for in tonight's ledger. He leans in, low enough that no one beyond my shoulder can gather the words. There are stories already. Let them bloom or die. Some flowers poison the hand that picks them. Then someone will learn to wear gloves. He lacks a reply he can show anyone. The mountain captain's gaze cuts to my sleeve and back to my eyes. He offers the smallest nod and means it. He saw. He will not sell it. He turns to his men and reminds them how to be still without looking eager. The horn is quiet now, satisfied with the order it enforced. The night feels larger than the palace, and perhaps that is new, or perhaps I am finally measuring correctly. The mark is firm under the ribbon, less injury than tool, fitted to my hand. An answer I did not know I would need. My father finishes. The crowd pretends to relax. Wine performs its old trick. Laughter rises and falls and stops sounding like a rehearsal for danger. I look over the yard, the wall, the pines that do not care about our arrangements. Aryana, closer now. I turn. His eyes are not a room I want to be in. He gestures toward the council door without grace. Now. The mark flares once like a torch passed along a line of runners. My wolf tilts her head. What brought us here sharpens into something clean. Not defiance, not surrender. Acknowledgement of a law that predates him. The world waits to see which version of me it will get. I step forward because I must. I do not step back because I will not. Heat travels my arm and sits at the base of my throat like an answer I did not have to speak. The night presses its ear to the windows. The garden holds a seam that looks like shadow, and is not. Somewhere within breath's reach, a man without a wolf stands very still and teaches one how to wake. My father turns his back to lead me inside, certain of the ground. My wolf whispers once, not plea, not command, the purest sentence she knows and ours. The great hall keeps the smell of iron and smoke like a memory it won't let go. Banners hang still. Braziers throw low light that makes armor look warmer than it is. The floor is clean and yet it remembers. I stand where I am placed. One step from my father's throne and one step from Ronan. The spacing is exact, the way cages are exact. When they fit perfectly, they pretend to be choices. The council stacks itself along the stairs, dark wool and polished shoes. Northern lords hold the wall like carved posts. The mountain captain takes his place with a stillness that looks like patience and feels like judgment. Servants move along the margins without names. Under my sleeve, the ribbon lies flat. Beneath it, the mark is not flat at all. It warms and rests and warms again, a patient pulse refusing to be trained by other people's air. My wolf paces behind my ribs, not ranting, not pleading, counting. Wait for the opening. My father lifts a hand and the room quiets as if someone pressed a thumb to a throat. He speaks about the hunt, about balance, about gratitude for woods that tolerated us. He folds those words and sets them down. Then he picks up the ones he polished years ago. He announces a union. He shapes Ronan's name and then mine. He talks about doors, roots, trade, safety. He speaks as if moving my life from one chair to another were the same as moving a banner on a wall. He doesn't look at me while he does it. He has practiced not looking. Ronan turns slightly toward me in a way the court reads as care. His profile knows how to behave under torchlight. Somewhere near the west pillar, a lady's breath catches the way a curtain catches on a nail, and then frees itself. The ribbon warms. The pulse under it swells like a tide-meeting rock. My wolf's voice slides low. Run through, not around. The far doors open without a herald. Air shifts. A line of moonlight thins across the floor. He steps into it, as if the hall was made for the shape of his body and forgot to say so. Aldrich walks the center line. Black coat, scar, hands easy at his sides. He does not angle toward power or away from it. He looks at no one until he looks at me, and then he looks at nothing else. The room murmurs because the room always does. I hear words like improper and moonless and guest of the north. They scuff the floor and go nowhere. Ronan's mouth learns amusement. Bold timing, Vayner. He lets the silence hold him a sliver too long so the spectators can feel like they got a piece of it. Or were you waiting for my name beside Aryana's to find your way in? Aldrich does not answer. He stops where a painted line would be if the hall ever admitted where it draws them. He sets his weight into his heels. The floor makes a small sound. A guard's hand twitches toward a hilt and then rethinks. The mountain captain's head tilts by half a degree, the nod a man gives when a fact finally arrives. Ronan's voice is smooth. Moonless men do not wander far from the wall. The old training in me wants to smile at the joke to shorten the distance to safety. The new training, born last night, keeps my face quiet. Aldrich's gaze holds mine. When he speaks, he does not speak to the gathered men, or to the throne, or to the firs holding the wall. He speaks to me, and the hall must make do with hearing what belongs to me first. I set my shield. The word hits stone without force, only craft. It is a tool set on a table. The council hears relic. The lords hear a valley that remembers law. The guards hear distance measured between blade and throat. My wolf goes very still, then nods. Once. Ronan smiles with one side of his mouth. You set what you do not have. Aldrich does not look at him. He lifts his chin by the smallest degree, enough to set the air straight, then lets it go. He doesn't wait for permission to keep standing. My father walks down 2 steps. The hall changes depth when he moves. Gravity learns manners. You bring old words into my hall. I bring true ones. The scribe's quill scratches because someone is always recording what they think matters. Ronan steps into the crack the way water finds a seam. Aryana is promised. Teach yourself to do without. The ribbon heats not to burn me, to warn the lie standing beside me that its minutes are counted. My father raises a hand for quiet. Enough. He looks at me finally. It is the same look he used when I was 5 and stood on a balcony rail and made him learn the word fear. He holds the look until I feel 10 again, and 9 again, and then I remember that I am not. You will stand with Ronan, and I move the smallest distance out of his shadow. It feels like a window opening in a room that doesn't like fresh air. No, the sound is not loud and the room hears it like a new rule. Something relaxes that didn't know it was clenched. Ronan's face forgets itself for half a heartbeat, then remembers. My father does not widen his eyes. He reduces them, which is worse. You will not make a spectacle. You did when you planned my future in a room and did not invite me to it. Boot leather creaks. The mountain captain almost smiles and then cancels the attempt. The northern lords shift weight in boots that have stood for better reasons. Ronan's tone is a polite blade. You do not know what you are doing, and I do. You are choosing humiliation. I look at the man who arrived without asking leave and whose presence made wolves run right. I look at the man who laid a word in a hall that hates words it can't edit. I look at the man whose hands never felt like begging. I am choosing truth. Ronan leans a fraction closer for me more than the room. You think a glow makes you rare, it makes you a problem with a lantern strapped to it. He has not seen that glow. He will, he is practicing for the moment. My father lifts his hand again, palm flat. Iron under silk. Vainer. Leave my hall. Aldrich answers without turning his head. No. The floor takes the weight of it. The guard captain shifts. A dozen men count how many steps to cross and how many breaths they would live after the crossing. The hall begins to pretend it remembers order. The mark under my ribbon burns. It is not a wound. It is a hinge giving, a door moving. The heat tightens along the inside of my wrist and rises up my forearm in a patient line that refuses to ask permission. Silk warms. My wolf leans against my bones and counts down. Now. Aldrich looks at my sleeve and then at my eyes, asking what only I can answer. The room feels his attention like wheat feels wind. I raise my arm, no flourish, no performance. I turn my wrist toward light. For one breath the ribbon holds because that is what it was trained to do. Then it yields. Not ripped. Remade. Pale fire pushes through silk and writes on skin. It edges the tendons, pools at the pulse, moves toward my palm with the calm of something that always knew this moment would arrive. The hall inhales all at once. A counselor's hand drops from his mouth. The mountain captain's chin lifts like a man greeting a story his grandfather promised he'd see once in a life. A northern lord mutters a word the court won't learn. A lady's mink collar misbehaves, remembering it used to be alive. Ronan watches the glow the way a man watches a dawn he did not order. His lips shape a laugh that isn't one, a trick. My father takes his time. He feeds the seconds to the room like meat to trained dogs, then calls my name. Aryana. The glow swells at my wrist as if to tell me I am not mistaken. I lift my chin. I will not be given away. The word away lands with weight. It sticks where it should. It does not ask to be liked. Ronan looks to my father for an easy cue and doesn't get one. The moon did not choose a man without a wolf. Then you didn't watch the hunt. The guard captain hears what I didn't say and files it in the part of him that stores sense other people will need later. Aldrich does not move. He does not grow larger to appear larger. He allows the room to learn his size. My father's face does not soften. He speaks in the tone he uses when he wants mercy to sound like reason. You mistake a fever for law. Law is older than this throne. A guard starts toward Aldrich and stops mid-step as if he walked into a chest he couldn't see. The council can't decide if outrage or arithmetic will serve them better. The northern lords study the first crack on river ice. You will stand with Ronan, and no, you will obey, no. Ronan's patience snaps a thread and the sound is silk, not rope. You are moved by a trick of skin and heat under ribbon. This will pass. You cannot endanger what we built because you enjoy saying no in public. The glow answers him without words. It climbs my arm and settles in the hollow at my throat like a new place to keep truth. The scent that rises is clean, like frost bitten off grass by the first real sun. Men with wolves in their blood look up and do not know why. Aldrich's breath deepens. His chest answers a rhythm that did not belong to him until last night. When he exhales, the air cools by a degree. It's enough. The council knows change when it can feel it. I lift my hand higher so even the back row cannot pretend. Silk blackens and curls like a confession too proud to hide. The ash lands on my other hand and refuses to be brushed away. My father's voice cuts, enough. Not again. The word is mine. It lands first. It widens in the air like water finding low ground and making a river. The hall gasps. Someone crosses themselves with a gesture they will deny later. The mountain captain lays a fist over his heart the way a man checks if it still answers him. Ronan moves half a step toward me. You are not thinking clearly. I have never seen more clearly. I am done letting people call clarity whatever keeps them where they like to sit. He looks for laughter and finds none. He looks for permission and gets silence. He looks at Aldrich and finds a man who has no interest in playing to the cheap seats. Silence grows heavy. It stops being a threat and starts being an invitation. My wolf opens her mouth in a howl that does not need sound. It runs my length and pushes something back into place that should have been there all along. Aldrich breathes in. He holds. He lets it go. The room's temperature changes again, only slightly. You can feel it if you have been cold outside enough nights. My father counts futures and hates that some refuse to include him. His knuckles go pale on the stair rail, and he forgives himself for it immediately. He lifts his hand to end it. The mark flares one clean surge, and light rides my wrist to my palm, into my sleeve, up along my collarbone. It is not fire, the court knows. It is moonlight, given a body. The hall breaks, not into shouting, into attention. Every eye looks because it must, even Ronan's, especially my father's. Aryana. I lower my arm. The light does not hide. It rests the way a crown rests when it finally reaches the head it was made for. I will not be bound to anyone but the man the moon chose. The line fits the hall as if it was carved under the stone before the first torch was ever lit. The council feels it in their bones. The lords feel it in their teeth. Even the braziers seem to draw cleaner air. Ronan's steps measured rage disguised as calm. The moon did not choose him. Then watch. He goes very still. So does the room. Aldrich doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. My father draws breath to swing the hall back into his shape. The light at my wrist surges one more time. So bright I see it reflected for a heartbeat in a dozen eyes. The bond writes itself where denial used to be. The court stands with its mouth closed around the truth. And the ribbon lies at my feet like a story I will not wear again. The hall splits down the middle in a sound that is almost a shout, and not quite. Robes hiss. Steel thinks about leaving scabbards. The light at my wrist burns clean and steady, running the line of my veins as if the moon has been practicing this stroke since I was born. My father does not raise his voice, he never has to. Seize him. The guard captain hesitates for the length of a heartbeat, the kind of pause a life could fit inside if it learned how. 2 spears tilt toward Aldrich. Boots scrape. Men who do not trust magic trust orders. The air takes on the smell of iron about to remember itself. Aldrich does not move. He has spent a lifetime refusing to give men excuses. The scar along his jaw whitens. He looks at me once, brief as a breath, and the space between that look and my feet becomes the only distance that exists. Move. My wolf does not ask. She plants her weight inside my bones and gives me enough strength to make the rest of me honest. I step off the dais before my mind has time to make arguments. Ronan reaches for my elbow. His fingers close on nothing. The council murmurs sharpens into names and prayers and accounts. The northern lords hold still the way ice holds still over deep water. A spearhead meets the air at Aldrich's chest. The guard behind it is young enough to be brave on purpose. He adjusts his stance to look larger. I walk into the space between spear and man and let the point find my cloak. Stand down. My voice is low. The light under my skin answers with a slow rise, like breath finding itself again. The spear wavers. The young guard looks past me for permission and finds my father instead. Take her away. Another line of men moves, and slower, careful not to handle a princess incorrectly while dragging her correctly. Ronan steps with them, eager to appear useful. Aldrich's hand lifts a fraction and then stills. Discipline making restraint look like ease. Do not touch her. It is not a shout. The hall takes it like a law that finally remembered its name. The guard captain reads the distance again. He tips his chin a fraction toward his men. The spears lower an inch. Not surrender. A remeasure. Ronan finds my shoulder with 2 fingers of care he wants seen. Come away. No. My father's gaze is cold on wet cloth. He is done spending patience on witnesses. You are bewitched. I am claimed. The word does its own work. To the council it is trouble to be itemized. To the northern lords it is law older than walls. To Ronan it is a blade that finds him every time he tries to step aside. To my father it is salt on steel. He thought would cut clean. He points at Aldrich as if naming a storm. Cursed without a wolf chain him. 2 men advance with silver coiled like snakes. The light at my wrist climbs into my palm and pushes outward. A pale wash touches stone between us. The men falter, not because silver fears anything, because hands do. Even, trained hands seek other work in the presence of a bond that refuses to hide. I set my back to Aldrich's chest. His breath warms the line of my spine. It is not steady. It will be. The tremor is small and honest, like a man at the cliff edge who has decided to jump and refuses to make a show of it. Something woke, he says into the inch of air behind my ear. I can hear it. What does it say? That I am not alone. He draws breath. It breaks in his ribs, then finds itself and leaves with a sound not meant for ears. It rolls through me in a low note that lives where instincts do. My wolf stops pacing. She lifts her head and drinks the air. Ronan scoffs, too loud to be private, too thin to be brave. A sore throat pretending to be a beast. He frees the clasp at his shoulder and lets his cloak fall. He pulls his shirt over his head with careless grace. He drops to one knee like a man praying to himself, and lets his body answer an older prayer. The shift takes him fast, trained by pride and repetition. Bones accept the shape they prefer. Skin pulls into fur the color of wheat at sunset. His muzzle is as handsome as he needs it to be. His eyes keep too much human thought on the surface. He shakes once, lands soft, and flashes teeth. The room thrills a little because rooms love to see what they expect. He darts left, then right, tongue of gold and sharp motion, built to win a cheer and a vein on the same leap. He cuts straight for Aldrich, for the soft logic of gaps in men, for a chest he believes hides nothing under will. My wolf rears. The world narrows to a bright command. I do not think. I drop my hand and find Aldrich's, palm to palm, skin to skin, light to light. The mark answers like a bell that has been waiting all night to be rung. Heat slams through me and into him. Not a burn, an ignition. The air between our hands disappears. The current takes the door he opened with his vow and kicks it off its hinges. Aldrich's breath stops. His body locks, every muscle learning a new language at once. He tries to let go and cannot. There's no longer a place where my hand ends and his begins. The sound inside him swells, not rehearsal now. A voice tearing up from a depth no room has ever reached, refusing to be small again. My wolf howls in silence. Wax quivers in cups. The braziers spit. Something under the floor remembers trees taller than this roof. Ronan launches. He meets a body that is not what it was a heartbeat ago. Shoulders burst wider under my fingers. Bone unlocks and sets. Tendons string a new instrument and tune by pain. Cloth tears like old paper. The coat splits. The shirt gives. A second skin lifts free and shakes the human off like a dream. Fur shadows silver, wherever light finds it, and black where it chooses its own dark. It looks like night before dawn. Not one color, 100. His head tips and lengthens. The blunt strength of a man's jaw becomes the perfect lever of a muzzle. Teeth take places they have been promised since he was a boy. He plants hands that are no longer hands. The floor answers with a note I can feel in my knees. The hall gasps and then forgets how. A cup rolls. A counselor grips the rail and learns his hands are not as strong as his opinions. The mountain captain says one quiet word that wakes a scar on his knuckles. He rises to full height and the room's math fails. He is massive without heaviness. Large the way truth is large when it stands up. Silver-black bands his chest, darker along the ribs where men break. His eyes are not human. They are not human. They hold me the way the forest does when it wants me to walk farther. Ronan skids, wheels, snarls. He leaps high for the throat, a clean arc honed to humiliation. The silver-black head turns a fraction. A paw meets him with workman precision. The strike is not cruel. It is competent. It sends him sideways into stone he believed loved him. He recovers because practice makes pride hard to kill. He lunges low, cheap and quick. Aldrich lifts just enough. Jaws close on air. Claws answer flank and write a lesson. Shallow, bright, undeniable. Arrows do not lift. The archers who were meant to be ghosts refuse to betray the oldest rule their bodies know. The guard captain pulls a breath that costs him pride and spends it. Your Majesty. My father does not look at him. Loose. No bowstring hums. The order hangs in the air like a banner that will not catch wind. The captain finds the courage he can afford. The bond. This is my hall. And the moon is not. Silence becomes necessary. Men choose sides they will later sell as obedience. The archers let their shoulders forget duty for 1 second and remember truth. Ronan circles, panting, fury edged with fear. He tries to find me to make his anger sharp. He finds Aldrich's body between us no matter where he stands. The room has learned new angles and will not give him a clean one. Aldrich looks at me once, a single still point in motion. The look is not a question. It is a report and a vow. I am here. The mark at my wrist blazes in answer, heat rising to the hollow at my throat and filling it like a sun the size of a coin. My wolf presses her head under my heart and gives me the smallest word she knows. Ours. The silver-black wolf stands taller. The dominance that entered as cold now spreads like pressure. Men breathe shallow because there is less air left for them than they thought. My father steps, the kind of step meant to make ground remember who owns it. The floor does not change its mind. He stops because he must. His gaze finds my wrist and then my eyes. He hates what lives there because it does not love him back. Enough. The word has lost its edge. It falls without cutting. The hall does not move for it. It waits. Ronan gathers himself for one last straight line, a bad choice dressed as courage. He charges. Aldrich meets him with what looks like stillness and isn't. The collision throws a noise that makes glass rethink its purpose. When the motion breaks into separate pieces, the silver-black wolf is standing where he means to stand, and Ronan is not where he wanted to be. I do not watch the end of that arc. I cannot. Aldrich's head dips the smallest distance toward me. The edge of his muzzle brushes my hand. Deliberate, unavoidable, a recognition that shakes something truer than bone. Heat runs up my arm and settles into a rhythm I could keep with my eyes closed. The light at my wrist brightens once more and calms, as if the bond itself has taken a breath and found its pace. Around us, the court tries to stand. Etiquette searches for lines that fit and cannot find them. The northern lords wear the faces men save for winters that will be hard and worth it. The guard captain lowers points without admitting he has done it. Ronan's mother stares at me as if I were a stain that needs a better solvent. A counselor mouths a prayer he will deny in daylight. My father's fury condenses instead of breaking. He signals for a circle that refuses to tighten. He looks past the silver-black shape to me, and the look is not king to subject, not father to daughter, not hunter to quarry. It is a man measuring what remains of his world and finding less than he counted. I lay my palm to the place between the wolf's eyes where the fur whirls like a small star. The sound he gives is low and complete. It moves through me and answers places I did not admit were empty. Stay with me. Pressure and breath and certainty answer. The voice I heard in the garden now lives with its ribs. Ronan staggers upright in human skin, shaking with anger and something he is not ready to name. He covers his chest with an arm because the cloak he wanted is not where he left it. His mouth shapes the start of a taunt and loses it. The hall leans, every face tilted toward us like flowers dragged by the sun. The braziers lower their voices. Wax slows. The night presses its ear to the windows. The silver-black wolf takes one step and then another toward the dais, not to threaten, to exist. The room parts. Men remember why their legs bend. Even my father does not move to block. He cannot. Aldrich stops when he is near enough for me to feel his breath and not 1 inch nearer. He stands like a mountain that has chosen not to fall. He breathes, and the ribbon of that sound threads the hall into a single listening thing. Do you hear me? I whisper now. Yes. The word does not need a mouth. It uses everything else. The court reels and rights itself poorly. The archers look at the floor so they do not look at each other. The council fingers laws that no longer fit. The northern lords let their shoulders loosen because their bones liked what they saw. My father draws breath. The hall prepares to make his breath into law. The silver-black wolf lifts his head and the light at my wrist answers in a single, steady blaze. It throws a pale line along my collarbone and rests there like a signature. The court stares at a thing it cannot unsay. The Moonless Alpha stands in wolf form, silver and shadow eyes on me, presence like weather, and the hall, for the first time tonight, forgets to breathe. Silence holds the hall in a hard fist. The silver-black wolf stands between me and a world that wants to pretend it still knows how to breathe. Torches gutter, remembering wind they do not have. The mark at my wrist glows, steady. Light threading up to the hollow of my throat and resting there like truth finally choosing its body. My father tries to shape the quiet with one word. Enough. It falls flat. The stone does not carry it. The archers stare at the floor so they do not have to meet their own courage. The guard captain keeps his men at the edge of motion and lets the air decide what it wants to be. Aldrich turns his head and brushes my wrist once more with the edge of his muzzle. A touch that is not ceremony, not accident. The heat it wakes goes clean and deep. He holds still as if listening to a sound that is not for anyone else. Then he lowers onto his forelegs, breathes, and lets the change take him back. It is not violent now. It is precise. The bones that leapt into a truer shape return with the care of craftsmen who respect what they built. Fur sinks to skin. The fierce geometry of the muzzle draws inward. Shoulders roll, hands find fingers. He rises in human form, in the same breath that leaves me, bare-armed, sweat beating his temples, eyes carrying the wild calm of something awake at last. He looks only at me. Come to me. I do. The court can choke on it or learn to swallow. I step until I'm in the circle of his heat, and nothing in me argues. He lifts my hand and turns my wrist so the glow faces him like a lamp. His thumb rests at the edge of it, careful, reverent, hungry. Mine. The word lands without noise and makes a new room inside my chest. My wolf answers with a single certainty. Ours. Ronan's laugh scrapes as he drags dignity over it like a cloak. Pretty tricks, pretty words, a king still decides. He tries to angle his body so the hall can read him noble and unafraid. His eyes keep slipping to Aldrich without permission. My father finds steel for his voice. This hall answers to me, the North does not declare kings by glow. I lift my chin. The moon is older than this roof. He steps forward the way a storm steps over a ridge. Aldrich's arm comes across my middle without touching, a line of heat that tells the room what will happen to hands that reach where they should not. My father stops one pace earlier than pride would prefer. He notices. So does the hall. You mistake fever for fate. Then call a healer and watch it refuse to break. The mountain captain coughs once into his fist and makes it sound like stone clearing its throat. Two northern lords try not to look pleased by the scale of what they are witnessing. The council flips through laws in their heads and finds blank pages. The archers stay low in their shoulders, wiser than most priests. Ronan takes a step and swallows the sound of his own teeth. You will not take what was promised. It was never promised to you. He recoils as if the word had weight. His gaze goes to my neck because he is a man who measures territory. The mark at my wrist brightens, as if to tell him there will be no maps tonight. Aldrich does not raise his voice. There is an older law, you all feel it, your bodies remember it even if your books try not to. Ronan's jaw works. Then show us your law and be done, claim her if you dare. The court sharpens like a knife set for the cut. My father's stare burns enough to smoke wax. Touch her and I will grind you into dust with what remains loyal to me. I am what remains loyal to her. I turn to Aldrich because the choice deserves my eyes when it is made. I want you. He breathes once through parted lips. It steadies everything he learned to steady without this. Now, I say. He searches my gaze for doubt and finds none. His hand cups the base of my skull, fingers sinking into hair with a gentleness that ruins me more than any roughness could. He lowers his head to my shoulder. His breath warms that thin skin where pulse lives. Mine? Yours. The room leans. The guards forget to pretend indifference. The wolves in the blood of men go silent to make room. His mouth opens against my skin, his teeth press with exquisite care, a threat transformed into a promise. The bite lands at the curve where neck meets shoulder, shallow at first, asking, then deeper. A clean break into a belonging that chooses both of us. Pain flowers and turns into heat in the same heartbeat. Light pours out of the wound without blood, a pale surge that stitches itself along the line of his jaw and back into me. The glow at my wrist shivers brighter and then settles into a rhythm that matches the pulse under his tongue. My wolf howls. It is not a challenge. It is joy big enough to scare the part of me that grew in small rooms. The sound does not leave my body. It makes a sky inside me and fills it. He lifts his head. The mark he leaves is a crescent, bright as if moonlight learned to live under skin. He touches it with his mouth once more, sealing what does not need to be sealed, then meets my gaze. I do not wait for permission. My hands climb his chest, sure my mouth finds his. The kiss is not polite, it is not frantic, it is the quiet of a door closing on a room you finally belong in. He takes my bottom lip between his teeth with a care that tells the court exactly what kind of man he is and exactly how much they never understood. I stand on my toes and the floor remembers how to hold me. When our mouths part, the hall is not the same room. The hush is not shock now. It is acknowledgement. Even those who hate it recognize the shape of what has been done. Ronan stumbles back one step, then two. He drops to a knee because pride fails, before instinct does. His head lowers. The submission looks new on him, and therefore honest. His men do not move to rescue him from it. My father's face is a study of a man being forced to respect what he cannot control. He could order bodies to move. Bodies would move. Hearts would not. He knows the difference and despises it. He turns the despising into dignity because that is his last art left. He faces the room. You have all seen what you believe you saw. Not a concession, a framing. The North has laws old enough to carve their own tablets. The Crown has laws that keep roads whole. Tonight, both stand. He looks at me. He does not look at my wrist. He looks at my eyes, because he is not a fool. You will do your duty to this realm. I will. And you will stop calling my duty anything that makes me vanish to make it easier to count. A breath moves through the lords like a small weather. The mountain captain's mouth flickers. The guard captain studies the grain of the floor and learns something about endurance. Ronan rises slowly with help from no one. He holds his head lower than he prefers because the part of him that can survive tomorrow understands today. He meets my gaze with an old promise emptied out by a new law. This is not over. It is over where it always mattered. He flinches. He will fill the empty places in himself with ambition because it is the only plaster he owns. It will crack. That is not my work anymore. Aldrich turns to my father. He does not kneel. He does not gloat. He stands with the measure of a man who almost never asks and finally decided to. I will protect her. I will protect what is hers. I will not seek your throne. I will not obey when your will requires me to betray the bond. My father's eyes narrow to a point meant to puncture. He weighs what he can break and what will break him if he tries. Then swear to the realm. I swear to her and through her to all that is mine to guard. It is not the pledge the court wanted. It is the pledge the knight believes. The old men who taught boys how to stand under weather nod without moving. The council shuffles parchment that no longer matters and tries to look useful. The northern lords begin to calculate new maps and understand that the mountain paths will be safer because of this, not worse. The archers look alive for the first time this evening and grateful to be so. My father steps aside. It is half a pace. It is more than any speech he could give. The hall sees it and files it where memory keeps what changes worlds. Aldrich's fingers find mine. The calluses are different now, thicker where new work has already started in the bone. He lifts my hand and lays my palm over the mark on his shoulder where my teeth would rest if I ever learned to be that brave. Heat beats there slowly, steady. Do you hear me? I whisper, not because his ears need it, because my heart does. I do. His voice answers inside my head, quiet and certain. The first time he uses a link that belongs to both of us. I will never be alone in me again. The shock of it steals my breath for a heartbeat. Then it steadies me the way a horizon steadies a sailor. Speak again. Your name. He says it like prayer, like water, like a promise that refuses to be dressed for court. The hall waits for something else that will let it pretend it is in charge. It does not come. Instead, the knight leans against the windows and listens. Aldrich turns to the court with the calm of a storm that has chosen a direction. He draws me with him until we stand where the center of the room can learn a new meaning. I claim Aryana. His voice is not loud. It does not need to be. It finds every ear because everybody there already decided it wanted to hear the thing it could not undo. I lift my wrist and bear the glow for the last of the doubters. It shines for them anyway. I let the ribbon dangle from my fingers like the old story it is. Then I tuck it away. Not to hide, to keep. A relic of a girl who did not know how to open a door. I answer your claim. No chorus rises, no priest calls a blessing. The acceptance is bigger than liturgy. My wolf lifts her head and looses a long, sweet sound that never touches the air. A second voice answers. Rougher, new, right. For a moment, the two are not two. They braid. They are the same voice layering itself. Future over present. Present over all the days we were stubborn enough to survive. Ronan backs into the ring of his own men. Smaller now because he had to be, not because anyone took anything he owned. He will go find a mirror and try to make the reflection brave again. The court will give him time to fail at it without saying his name. My father stands as still as a man can stand and still be alive. He knows what scholars will write and what they will omit. and how both will be wrong. He knows what stories kitchens will tell, and how much truer they will be. He knows he has not lost his crown. He has lost a kind of gravity. He will hate the absence. He will learn to balance with it. Go, he says, not to me, not to Aldrich, to the room. Let the night keep what it is owed. The hall exhales like a beast unpinned. Men move, slower than usual, touched by something they do not have the language to ruin yet. The archers vanish because that is what good archers do. The northern lords find each other by habit and do not speak. The council tries. The mountain captain looks at me and gives me that smallest nod again, and this time it carries gratitude. We step down off the dais. The stone is not different and is. The braziers burn with the same fire, made cleaner by what they have witnessed. The world feels larger and less eager to be told what it is for. At the garden doors the cold reaches us and does not bite. We step into it anyway. Snow breathes on the hedges without falling. The fountain keeps its voice low. I take Aldrich's hand with the right kind of ownership. Are you afraid, I ask, because I am done pretending fear does not get a chair in every room where truth sits? No, he answers in the link and aloud both, his voice scratching at all the places in me that expected to be lonely longer. Not with you. We face the dark beyond the wall. The forest holds itself like a promise kept. Somewhere out there, a buck that escaped the hunt honors a bargain older than the crown on this palace. I squeeze his hand and feel the wolf in him lean toward the trees without leaving me. He turns and studies the bite at my shoulder. The mark glows soft as if moonlight collected in skin and decided to live there. His fingers hover a breath from it, then rest lightly. Does it hurt? It feels like breath, like a door that used to be locked and now is not. And you can stand in the doorway and smell rain before it arrives. His smile is small and real and ruins the last defenses I built to keep my heart orderly. He bends and kisses the mark with a reverence that teaches the night its own worth. Then he lifts his head and looks at me the way he looked at me in the garden when he told me to run and I did not. We are one, Aryana. The Moonless Alpha no longer exists. Only us. The words do not stop at my ear. They go straight to where the glow rests and fold themselves in. My wolf answers with satisfaction so deep it feels like a foundation poured under a house that already stood too long without one. I kiss him again, less careful, because care has done its work and does not need to starve us. He answers with hunger, made precise by restraint. The link carries heat like a tide, not drowning, lifting. For one long moment there is no crown, no hall, no law, but the one that finally remembered how to speak. We stand there until the night marks us with its clean cold. When we turn back to the door, the palace seems smaller than it was. That is not an insult. It is a blessing. It can hold what it must. The rest belongs to the dark and to us and to the old law that did not ask this room for permission. Inside, men will argue about what they saw and what they believe, and what they will call it tomorrow. The road crews will still lay tar. The kitchens will still salt meat. The mountain paths will still decide who deserves safe passage. We walk in, fingers linked, light steady under skin. The wolf inside him settled and alert. The wolf inside me quiet and pleased. The carving over the hall door looks less like a decree and more like a memory. It will learn another way to be true. He squeezes my hand once, not to prove possession, to confirm presence. I squeeze back with the same answer. Always, he says in the link. Always, I answer. And the moon unseen above the stone and smoke keeps its appointment with the night, and with us.